Chapter 1762. The attending doctor, caretaker, and nurse looked at each other. Are you sure you got the right report? Yes, Ms. Alexander is the only one in the hospital recently. We can't have the wrong report. Platinum Noble Hospital only accepted a small number of patients. It was known for the most professional medical skills, the most advanced equipment, and the best service. They accepted no more than 10 patients at a time, but each patient cost at least $500,000. I just changed Ms. Alexander's bed sheets, the head nurse said. There was a black substance on the sheets. I sent it to the lab for testing too. It's all poison. It looks like Ms. Alexander's body expelled it automatically. But how is that possible? How can her skin expel poison? After Ms. Alexander washed up, I did a preliminary examination on her. Ms. Alexander's originally failing organs are actually very normal. It doesn't look like the failure before today. Oh, what about the surveillance? Did the surveillance find anything wrong? The surveillance only stopped when the police came in to arrest her. Then, one of the police entered the room and the surveillance was physically cut off. Ellie Rodriguez Alexander sat in the garden of the hospital with 4 bodyguards standing beside her. Ellie Rodriguez Alexander's expression was calm. Boss, that's what happened. So, it wasn't Rydra who poisoned her, but my fake grandson. Yes, he tried to separate the 4 of us. If the police didn't come, he would have done it to you yesterday. Is there any other information? Then, is there any news about the real Lohil? After his father passed away 2 years ago, he dropped out of school. Since then, he hasn't appeared in front of outsiders. However, through our connections in England, we showed the photo of the imposter to young Master Lohil's former classmates. They all confirmed that the young Master Lohil in the photo is a fake, and New Orleans has also confirmed that the imposter's real name is Jeff Ryder. What about my physical condition? Everything is good, at least according to the hospital report, the bodyguard said. You said that I was about to die, right? Yes, boss. We sent your previous report to other hospitals. The answer was the same. It's very dangerous. Almost all your organs are failing. Is it the hospital treatment? Boss, the doctor you hired came to the hospital twice. The second time he came, he stayed in your ward alone for about 5 minutes. Is that doctor that Asian? Yes. So, have you found out anything about him? So far, we only know that he's an illegal doctor. He's a professor at the University of California, Los Angeles, and he's rich. Is there any more information? We still need to continue investigating. Bring Rydra out. She's been wrong these past few days. Bring her here. Rydra had already lost all hope. He had been waiting in prison for so many days. Chen Zhao didn't reply to her either. Rydra thought that Chen Zhao hadn't helped at all, but he didn't expect her to be released so soon. The person who brought her out was Ellie Rodriguez Alexander's bodyguard. When Rydra was brought in front of Ellie Rodriguez Alexander, she became nervous again. Rydra, come sit beside me. Ms. Alexander, take this check. Ellie Rodriguez Alexander pushed a check in front of Rydra. Rydra originally wanted to pretend to be virtuous, but after seeing the number on the check, she obediently accepted the check. How do you know Mr. Chen? I want to hear more details. Before we first met, I was the health consultant for Mr. Rasva, the CEO of PLM Film Company. At that time, Mr. Rasva's health condition was very poor. The hospital had even sent out a death notice. It wouldn't take more than 3 days. Ellie Rodriguez Alexander listened to Rydra's words calmly. He gave Mr. Rasva some strange-looking medicine, and then Mr. Rasva, who had been sentenced to death, survived? Yes. I saw him a few times later. He was very healthy. You can never imagine that he's an old man in his 70s. Rydra was a proud person, but she had to let go of her pride in this aspect. His medical skills are better than mine, so I recommended him to you. Help me look at this. This is my examination report. Rydra took the report and looked at it back and forth for a long time. This is. Rydra looked at Ellie Rodriguez Alexander. Ms. Alexander, are you sure you didn't take the wrong one? I didn't. You're very healthy. Mr. Chin stayed in my room for 5 minutes, but the surveillance didn't record what he did in the room. Ellie Rodriguez Alexander looked at Rydra. I heard that you saw him when you were in prison. Rydra nodded. She couldn't hide this. So, she told the truth directly to Ellie Rodriguez Alexander. Ellie Rodriguez Alexander nodded. In that case, you should be the one who saved me. I don't dare. Actually, I just want to clear my name. The older one got, the more afraid they were of death. Ellie Rodriguez Alexander was no exception, especially when she had such a huge amount of wealth. No one was willing to die willingly. However, death was fair to everyone. It didn't matter how rich the person was. Do you know where he lives? I don't know, but my agent knows. Ellie Rodriguez Alexander looked at Rydra in surprise. After I met him, I suffered a huge blow. So, I gradually changed from a simple health consultant to an illegal doctor. Then, I found his agent and asked him to be my agent too. I feel that I need to contact more different kinds of patients to improve my professional skills. Then help me ask where Mr. Chin lives, Ellie Rodriguez Alexander said. I want to thank him. Chapter 1763. Failai went to work. She knew what had happened last night. On her way back, she saw the police blockade on the highway. Of course, she didn't say anything. If she opened her mouth, Chen Zhao would definitely take advantage of her. It was her first day at work, and then something like this happened at home. Chen Zhao had even more reason to let her stay at home. Then Portia came. Portia didn't seem to be in a good state. What she'd experienced yesterday had given her nightmares for the whole night. Only someone like Chen Zhao could ignore what had happened yesterday. To him, it seemed like a normal meal. Portia, do you want something to eat? Portia sat down and turned her anger into appetite. However, she'd clearly overestimated her appetite. She was probably the only one who was full from eating breakfast. Holding her stomach, Portia lay on the sofa, not wanting to move at all. Boss, who are those people? Portia asked. Will they attack us again? Don't worry. They're not interested in you. That's good. Portia heaved a sigh of relief. You have no money, no face, and no body. Those gunmen must be blind to cause trouble for you. Mr. Bo too, our people failed. Now they're all in prison, Mehdi said, gritting his teeth. Sitting in front of Mehdi was a black man. This black man had thin limbs and looked malnourished. He wore colorful clothes, and his head was disproportionately big. One of Botu's hands was holding a wooden staff, and the tip of the staff was inlaid with a black skull. A sinister aura filled the entire room. There was a heavy stench in the air. Botu slowly opened his eyes. I don't care about the others, but you have to bring Jeff Ryder to me. But he's in prison now, Mehdi said, troubled. I don't have enough people. Botu waved his staff. The black skull spat out a gust of black gas, which spread above Mehdi's head. Mehdi was instantly enveloped by the black gas. He started struggling in pain, continuously spitting out large amounts of filthy black substance. A human figure slowly formed in the black substance. It was as tall and sturdy as Mehdi. Then the second figure took shape, followed by the third, the fourth. Only then did Mehdi stop vomiting and slowly recover. I'll grant you Shadow. You can lead the Shadow Army and bring Jeff Ride back to me, Botu said. Go. Don't make me wait too long. David, what's up? Chen Zhao received David's call. Chin, the situation is a bit complicated. After a night of interrogation, Jeff Ryder revealed some unusual information. It seems to be related to people from the spiritual world. Someone from the spirit world. When Chen Zhao heard this, he wasn't that surprised. In fact, Chen Zhao had already guessed it. He said that in their group, there's actually a great wizard from Africa called Botu. He's been hiding in the shadows all this while. He also said that this great wizard from Africa will definitely rescue him. What do you plan on doing? Chun Zhao asked. David had helped him a lot. If David asked, then he would definitely not refuse. I hope you can help, David said. No problem, Chun Zhao agreed readily. What do you need me to do? This was also what gave David a headache. He understood the spirit world, and he knew that Chun Zhao was in his hands as insurance. But how could he use Chun Zhao? David didn't have any ideas now. He didn't know much. Even the fact that this was related to the supernatural world was his own guess. How about this? Chun Zhao said, if there's a prison break, notify me immediately. I'll go and help you immediately. Speaking of which, Chun Zhao also wanted to know who was behind Jeff Ryder. More accurately, he was interested in the person who'd cast that strange spell on Jeff Ryder. Yes, that's fine. David didn't have any more clues now. This was the only arrangement for now. Just as David hung up, a group of people came in. A young and pretty woman walked in. Hi, you're David, right? I'm Vestana. Who are you? David looked at the woman before him. I'm from the secret department. I'm going to take Jeff Ryder out now. Secret department? Show me your ID, David said. It was impossible for anyone to run up to him and say that they were from the secret department and then take a criminal out. Moreover, it was a criminal. No ID, Vestana said. Ms. Vestana, are you joking with me? David sneered. You can call your director, Vestana said expressionlessly. David frowned and picked up the phone suspiciously. Hello, director. There's a group of people here. They say that they're from the secret department. They want to take the criminal I brought back yesterday. Do as they say and try to cooperate with them. I can't tell you the details. The director's answer was simple. Vestana's lips curled. How is it? David took a deep breath, although he was a little unwilling. He didn't want to give up, but the woman before him and the secret department behind her clearly had more authority than him. Go take the criminal yourself, David said, unwilling to give up. Thank you for your cooperation. Vestana turned and left. David picked up the phone again. Hey, Chin, the situation has changed. I don't think you need to get involved anymore. What? Did you catch the mastermind? No, Jeff Ryder was taken by another department. I think it's also a department that deals with supernatural incidents. Oh, forget it. That's good too. It's better if you don't get involved. It won't do you any good. Chun Zhao had a general idea. After all, in L.A., only the supernatural organization and the psionic team could deal with supernatural incidents with the help of the government. Since it wasn't the supernatural organization, it had to be the psionic team. Just then, the butler spoke. Master, 3 cars with unfamiliar license plates have entered Mingyue Villa. Are you allowed to enter? Chun Zhao looked at the projection on the wall. Of the 3 cars, 2 were black commercial cars, and the one in the middle was a high-end luxury car. The 2 cars seemed to be the guards of the car in the middle. They didn't look like they were here to cause trouble. Put down the barrier and let them in, Chun Zhao said. Chapter 1764. There was a mechanical barricade at the entrance to prevent uninvited guests from entering Mingyue Villa. Sometimes, passers-by who got lost would ask for directions at the door. Chun Zhao would definitely not invite such people in. At most, he would talk to them through the loudspeaker at the door and give them directions. And some uninvited guests were really uninvited guests. There were also people who wanted to come in and cause trouble. Chun Zhao never showed mercy to these people. Ellie Rodriguez Alexander rolled down the window. Fresh air flowed into the car. The air here was too good. Ellie Rodriguez Alexander felt invigorated. Rydra was also in disbelief, but she was shocked by Chun Zhao's family business. In her impression, Chun Zhao was still the illegal doctor from before. Ethan introduced clients to Chun Zhao and her. Most of the clients she accepted were middle to low level. On the other hand, Chun Zhao accepted high-level clients. Rydra had no objections to this. After all, She knew that her medical skills weren't as good as Qin Zhao's, but she didn't expect the difference in their values to be so huge. Since there were strangers, the car obviously wouldn't be parked in the garage. The 3 cars parked in the open-air parking lot. Ellie Rodriguez Alexander loved everything here. The environment here, the scenery here, all of them were breathtaking. With Ryder's help, Ellie Rodriguez Alexander strolled toward the villa. Suddenly, Ellie Rodriguez Alexander heard the sound of children playing. Under a big tree in the middle of the lawn, 2 babies were sitting on the backs of a mountain gorilla and a brown bear. Whether it was the mountain gorilla or the brown bear, they were both astonishingly large. Ellie Rodriguez Alexander's 4 bodyguards all took out their guns and pointed at the 2 beasts. In their eyes, the 2 were both ferocious beasts that could kill people. "Everyone, please put down your weapons." Just then, Qin Zhao walked out. "It's rude to take out weapons when you're a guest." Ellie Rodriguez Alexander waved her hand, indicating for the bodyguards to put down their weapons. "Mr. Qin, I'm sorry for my subordinate's impudence. Ms. Alexander, please come in." Qin Zhao was surprised by Ellie Rodriguez Alexander's visit. "The kids over there, they're my daughters." Qin Zhao looked at little Jerlin and Larissa and couldn't help but smile happily. Ellie Rodriguez Alexander looked at King Kong and Princess. To be honest, their sizes were really scary. When they passed the living room, Ellie Rodriguez Alexander saw Portia lying on the sofa. "Is that your wife?" "No, she's my assistant." Ellie Rodriguez Alexander frowned slightly. "She seems to be very free. She had too much breakfast." Please sit." Qin Zhao arranged for Ellie Rodriguez Alexander to sit on a chair in the yard. There was wind and scenery in the courtyard. Today, the sun was shining brightly and the sky was clear. This was the best place to look at the sea. "Qin Zhao's wife," Ryder said. "Mr. Qin," Ryder said, "Ms. Alexander isn't feeling well. I'm afraid it's not convenient for her to be exposed to the wind." Qin Alexander. Glancing at Ryder, Qin Zhao said calmly, "If I think Ms. Alexander isn't suitable for the wind, I'll invite her inside." Ryder stopped talking, but she was still worried about Ellie Rodriguez Alexander's health. Ellie Rodriguez Alexander smiled and waved her hand. "It's very comfortable here, Mr. Qin. I'm not trying to flatter you. I've never felt so comfortable here before. Mr. Qin, are you selling this manor?" Many of my friends have asked me this question. What Qin Zhao was implying was that he didn't sell it, even though so many of his friends wanted to buy it. "Mr. Qin, is it my imagination? I feel like I'm indescribably comfortable here." Ellie Rodriguez Alexander looked at him in confusion. "You're right. Maybe it has something to do with the layout here. With only one family living in such a big place, won't they feel lonely?" "No, my family and I like this kind of quiet environment. If we're bored, we'll find our friends to play with or invite them over." "Do you want some wine?" Qin Zhao asked. "Can I drink it?" Ellie Rodriguez Alexander wasn't questioning, but more like asking. "At my place, you can eat and drink anything without worry. I haven't been able to eat and drink freely in a long time. Please wait." Smiling, Qin Zhao stood up and entered. He kicked Portia to the ground. "Get up and help me get some food and wine." Portia rubbed her stomach, which was no longer full, and glanced outside. Ellie Rodriguez Alexander and Qin Zhao sat opposite each other. When Portia came out with the nameless wine, Ellie Rodriguez Alexander's eyes brightened. "I have some in my manor too, but I rarely drink it. I only take it out for guests during banquets." The bodyguard poured wine for Ellie Rodriguez Alexander and Qin Zhao. Just then, the little deer came over, following the fragrance. It extended its mouth to Ellie Rodriguez Alexander, as if it wanted the wine too. "Mr. Qin, this." Ellie Rodriguez Alexander couldn't help but touch the deer. "Sorry," Portia took it away. "It's okay. I really like this little guy. Let it stay with me. Ali Rodriguez, Alexander said, smiling. Everything here made her feel comfortable. Even the little mule deer in front of her gave her an inexplicable sense of intimacy. Mr. Chin, thank you for saving me. Otherwise, my old bones would be in the coffin. It's just a problem that I can solve. Chen Zhao said it lightly, but Ali Rodriguez Alexander didn't think so. Before coming here, Ali Rodriguez Alexander had confirmed with the hospital and Rydra again. She'd really been on the verge of death. The hospital couldn't do anything. According to the hospital, the only thing that could save Ali Rodriguez Alexander was God. But Chen Zhao only used 5 minutes to solve a problem that even the most professional doctors and the most advanced equipment couldn't solve. Thus, Ali Rodriguez Alexander was more and more convinced that Rydra's recommendation was correct. Chapter 17:65. Go get a few boxes of beer, Chen Zhao said to Ali's bodyguard. Oh, help me set up 2 grills. The bodyguard looked at Ali Rodriguez Alexander. Go. Mr. Chen's words are my words. Ali looked at Chen Zhao. Do you know that I haven't had barbecue in 10 years? Ms. Alexander's body. Rydra knew that Chen Zhao would know what to do. But she was Ali's health consultant after all. She had to be responsible for Ali's health. For someone as rich as Ali, she had to be responsible for her health. A nutritionist was in charge of all her meals. She had the same function as a sports nutritionist. It's fine, Ali said calmly. It's okay to indulge once in a while. Of course, this was also because she trusted Chen Zhao. The bodyguard and Portia were busy. Portia would complain every time. She was a personal assistant, not a maid. But when it came to eating, she ate more than anyone else. Soon, Ali Rodriguez Alexander's appetite was piqued. Chen Zhao's food couldn't be bought outside. Little Jerlin, little Larissa, and a group of pets all came over. At first, the bodyguards were careful, but soon they realized that the pets weren't aggressive at all. For example, Princess knew how to put the barbecue skewers on the grill. She even pointed at the seasoning and didn't want what she wanted. Mr. Chin, can I eat like this at home too? Ali Rodriguez Alexander was having a good time eating. No. Chen Zhao shook his head. My ingredients are different. Where did you get your ingredients? Ali Rodriguez Alexander asked. They're illegal. If you need them, I can give you some, but I'm afraid I can't provide the channels, Chen Zhao said. Ali Rodriguez Alexander didn't ask any further. She knew some things better than others, but she had to admit that the barbecue ingredients were all precious. I think Marina's restaurant provides this crab meat too, but it's cooked differently. Ali looked at Chen Zhao, confused. Marina's restaurant is my property. It's yours, Mr. Chen. No wonder. Ali Rodriguez Alexander had been to Marina's several times. She had also questioned the manager of the restaurant, trying to find out the source of the ingredients for Marina's restaurant. The result was the same. So it was Chen Zhao's property. Give me 2 skewers of grilled squid. The bodyguard immediately brought 2 skewers to Ali Rodriguez Alexander. What does Mr. Chen mainly do? Ali Rodriguez Alexander asked. She did not believe that an illegal doctor could earn such a huge net worth. Looking at the super yacht at the bottom of the cliff, it would cost around $100 million US. Beer factory, Chen Zhao said indifferently. Produce and sell beer. Ali Rodriguez Alexander suddenly looked around. All the beer Chen Zhao provided was mountain beer. Ali Rodriguez Alexander immediately understood. By then she would know about Dashin beer and how popular Dashin beer was in North America. If it weren't for the limited production, Dashin beer would probably be the best-selling beer in North America. That made more sense. Ali Rodriguez Alexander suddenly looked at Chen Zhao. So Daydream also belongs to Mr. Chen? Mara Supermarket had already announced that the owner of Dashin beer was the brewer of Daydream. Ali Rodriguez Alexander also knew that some people in LA used an extremely expensive wine for their parties. It seemed to also come from the brewer of Daydream. Apparently, each bottle cost 2 to 3 million USD. It was called Purple Brew. However, Ali had never had the chance to taste it. Mr. Chin, do you sell Purple Brew? I don't, but I can give you 2 bottles. Chen Zhao had always only provided Purple Brew to a few friends. He'd only sold 1 or 2 bottles in the beginning. Most of the time it was in the form of gifts. It was also extremely rare in the market. Therefore, Chen Zhao did not want to open this door. If he sold it this time, Chen Zhao would have no reason to reject Ali Rodriguez Alexander when she came to buy it. Mr. Chen, 1 bottle costs 2 to 3 million, right? It's worth a few million to wine lovers, but to me it's just a gift. After lunch, Ali Rodriguez Alexander left. Ms. Alexander, you didn't say anything. Rydra looked at Ali Rodriguez Alexander in confusion. Ali Rodriguez Alexander smiled. No need. What Ali Rodriguez Alexander needed was not a doctor-patient relationship. What she needed was for Chen Zhao to help her wholeheartedly when she needed it. This kind of relationship could not be achieved with just 1 or 2 interactions. Paul, help me find out if there's any suitable place to build a manor on the coastline nearby. Buy it for me. Yes, boss. Why does this guy give off such a disgusting vibe? Vestana asked. I don't know. It's too strange. Blitz also looked at Jeff Ryder in confusion. If he met Jeff Ryder at a certain place, it would be difficult for him to make friends. This kind of annoying feeling will affect the initial judgment of others. Of course, a feeling was just a feeling. It would not make people lose their minds. Is he a spiritualist? No, he should be a regular person, Blitz said. Someone must have cast some kind of spell on him. Jeff Ryder's head was covered, so he could not see anything. He only knew that he was in a car. He did not know where he was being taken. Finally, they arrived. Jeff Ryder was dragged out of the car, and the head cover was removed. Jeff Ryder realized that he was in front of a circular building. Everything around him was barren. Entering the building, he realized that it was a different world. The inner circle was filled with green vegetation. The main body of the building was circular and looked futuristic. Where is this? Why did you bring me here? Chapter 1766. Hello, Mr. Chen. Hello, may I know who you are? I'm a queso. Klaus ordered a batch of equipment from my boss. We've already sent it to LA. Klaus isn't in LA right now, but he told us to contact you. Oh, where are you now? At the container terminal. The equipment Klaus ordered is all in the containers. I'll go there now. Do I need to call a truck? Yes, 3 trucks. Okay, I'll go there now. I'll call a truck too. Qin Zhao stood up and glanced at Portia, who was a bit full from lunch. Portia, get up and contact 3 trucks. Oh, got it, boss. Are we going out? Yes, to the terminal. Call the truck there too. Boss, what about Jerlin and Larissa? Same. Bring them. Chen Zhao arrived at the terminal. A man with a centipede-like suture scar on his face walked over. The man looked burly and ferocious-looking. In any movie, he wouldn't last more than 3 episodes. When Portia saw the man, she shuddered. It was already written on his face. I'm not a good person. You're Mr. Chen, right? Yes, you're a queso? Yes. Are you in charge of installing the equipment too? We're in charge of the installation too. Okay. Send the containers to the truck first. You guys follow my car. No problem. After Portia and Chen Zhao returned to the car, Chen Zhao drove. Boss, what equipment did you buy? It's complicated, Chen Zhao said calmly. The car drove further and further away. It took them more than an hour to reach the entrance of the headquarters. Bang! Aduz opened the door. Aduz peeked out from the guard post and immediately opened the door. It was Portia's first time here. She looked around curiously. However, apart from the guard, she didn't see anyone else. The entire headquarters seemed very quiet. Jerlin was very familiar with the place and had already started running around. Mr. Chin, where's the equipment? It's in a warehouse over there. Qin Zhao pointed. Then a queso ordered his people to bring down the equipment. Portia looked around but didn't see anyone. "Boss, what is this place?" Portia asked. "My company," Chen Zhao replied casually. "Company?" Portia didn't see any company logo. After circling around the headquarters twice, Portia still couldn't figure out what this place was. However, after circling to the back of the headquarters, Portia suddenly saw a tall tower. The tower was very tall. Its architectural style was very similar to the Leaning Tower of Pisa, but it was much taller. What made Portia feel even more regretful was that the round tower didn't have any entrances. "Boss, what's the use of this tower?" "Beautiful," Qin Zhao answered. Portia looked back at the headquarters, then at the round tower. The two buildings were of completely different styles. It was even weirder when they were put together. "You call this good-looking?" Portia wondered if there was something wrong with Qin Zhao's taste. Portia also noticed that there was an uncomfortable atmosphere in this area. There were dark clouds above his head, and he could clearly see the edge of the dark clouds. Outside the dark clouds, the sun was shining brightly. "Boss, what kind of equipment are those?" "Equipment to process parts," Qin Zhao said casually. Portia didn't believe him. No matter how she looked at it, she couldn't tell where these machines had the function of processing spare parts. In any case, everything here was a little strange. "Go to the front," Qin Zhao said. "The forest behind is very big. It's easy to get lost." Portia glanced at Qin Zhao. After arriving here, Qin Zhao had let Jerlin play by herself. He didn't seem worried that his daughter would get lost. Could it be that she was inferior to little Jerlin? Portia rolled her eyes at Qin Zhao. However, this forest was indeed a bit uncomfortable. She didn't know if it was because of the dark clouds in the sky. Portia just felt pressured. In fact, Portia felt uncomfortable because this area was the activity area of evil spirits. Even at this moment, there were still a few evil spirits moving around in the vicinity. Moreover, if Portia's emotions fluctuated slightly, she might see some ghosts. This was why Qin Zhao had to send her away so that she wouldn't see the evil spirits. "Boss, I'll go back to the car and rest." Portia thought that it was because she hadn't slept well last night. "There are some empty rooms for the employees. Do you want to sleep? I'll call you when we get back." "No need." Akazuo and his team were very skilled. After an hour, the installation of the equipment was almost complete. Now it was time to test it. "Mr. Qin, we need to open an exit there." Akazuo pointed at the wall. "This way, the cannonball will be fired from this direction and then fired from the other side through the ring-shaped sensor." "Okay, I understand." Qin Zhao nodded. "Do you need me to get someone to open an exit for you?" "No," Qin Zhao said. "I'll open it when my people are here." "Okay." Akazuo nodded. Everyone had their own needs. "This is the monitor and control panel. What's the highest speed this equipment can test?" "This is an optical sensor. In theory, there is no upper limit, but in reality, it is impossible to do so. The core of this equipment is the ring sensor. If Mr. Qin is using it to detect large caliber artillery shells, you need to be careful that the impact will not destroy the ring sensor. Of course, with the current progress of weapon development, most weapons can be detected at their ballistic speed." Qin Zhao nodded. Akazuo spoke in layman's terms. He didn't use too many technical terms, but Qin Zhao could roughly understand. Akazuo didn't ask Qin Zhao why there was a projectile speed testing device here. This place didn't look normal. Who knew what he was going to do? Perhaps this was some kind of research facility. Akazuo knew that the more he knew, the more dangerous it would be. So, when it came to such things, he had no intention of asking. "Can the sensor withstand high temperatures?" Qin Zhao asked. Akazuo tilted his head and looked at Qin Zhao. "Mr. Qin, the inner ring of the sensor is tungsten alloy. It can withstand temperatures above 6,000 degrees. As long as you don't create a nuclear explosion here, there won't be a problem." "Okay." Qin Zhao was quite satisfied. Mr. Chin, this is my name card. If you have any problems, you can call me at any time. Okay, I understand. 9 Heavens, Divine King. Chapter 1767. Knock, knock. Portia, wake up. We can go back now. When Portia opened her eyes, she realized that it was already late. She glanced at the time. It was already past 6. No wonder the sky was completely dark. Boss, are we going back to Mingyue Villa now? Yes, you drive. Chen Zhao took out his phone and called Klaus. Klaus, the equipment is ready. You can transfer the money to them now. Okay. Oh, how are you in Norway? Have you made any progress? We just entered the forest today. We haven't found anything valuable yet. Keep in touch. Remember to contact me if you need anything. Got it, President. When they reached Mingyue Villa, it was already past 9 at night. Portia drove really slowly, even slower than Qin Zhao. Qin, where did you go today? Seeing Chen Zhao and Portia return, Fei Lai immediately pulled Portia aside. Portia, stay for dinner. You haven't eaten yet, right? Ms. Fei Lai, I have to go back. It's getting late. Then don't go back. You have to come back tomorrow anyway. Portia thought about it. If she went back now, she would have to eat dinner and wash up before going to bed at midnight. She would have to come back tomorrow. It would indeed be tiring. Just come down. There's a lot of empty rooms, Qin Zhao said casually. Since Chen Zhao had spoken, Portia followed suit and stayed. To be honest, every time she saw Chen Zhao's family having a meal, it would be as sumptuous as celebrating the New Year. Boss, what kind of monster is that? Portia looked at the arachne limbs roasting on the charcoal. The limbs were considered small. They were only around 1 meter long. But in Portia's eyes, they were already astonishing. A type of giant crab, Qin Zhao said casually. Eat more and ask less. It's tens of thousands of dollars per kilogram on the market. Portia gulped. Thousands of dollars per kilogram? The limbs on the table were worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. Portia felt like the world was spinning around her. If she told others that she ate hundreds of thousands of dollars in one meal, who would believe her? Chen Zhao picked up a limb and broke it off, handing it to Portia. The aroma of crab meat spread out from the limb. That tempting crab meat aroma had yet to enter one's mouth, but it was already irresistible. This is too fragrant. However, Portia realized that Chen Zhao had given her too much. She couldn't finish half of the crab meat anymore. But if he didn't eat it, it would be a waste. On the other hand, Chen Zhao didn't keep the entire limb in his hand for long. He finished it in a few bites. Chen Zhao started eating other things. After a gust of wind, he finished most of the food. Fei Lai, on the other hand, chewed slowly and fed little Jerlin. Little Larissa couldn't eat a big meal for now, so she was still eating some soft food. Little Jerlin, on the other hand, had no inhibitions. She even dared to stuff pebbles into her mouth, let alone food. You guys continue, I'm going down to swim. Portia was not too surprised by Chen Zhao's nocturnal habit. In her eyes, Qin Zhao was just a freak. Everything was different from ordinary people. Of course, she did not forget how ruthless Qin Zhao was when he dealt with the gunman yesterday. In her eyes, Qin Zhao was someone she couldn't afford to offend. To Chen Zhao, the night was the best camouflage. Only at night could Chen Zhao move around freely. Moreover, Qin Zhao dove into the water. Even satellites couldn't detect him. Nowadays, satellites used optical surveillance to monitor the ground. This used extremely clear optical technology to observe the ground from a close distance. Then computers would recognize and repair the image, continuously adjusting the clarity. With America's current technology, satellites could already see people's faces clearly from hundreds of thousands of meters in the sky. The second was metal ripple detection. This technology mainly used submarines, ships, and planes as detection targets. The so-called anti-radar planes and stealth planes were actually used to counter such surveillance equipment. The third is thermal monitoring technology. This kind of monitoring is mainly used in anti-missile systems or tracking missiles. Chen Zhao mainly guarded against the third kind of surveillance technology. Satellites at high altitudes could capture low-altitude or near-Earth heat sources. If Chen Zhao flew too fast, his body would heat up. He would be easily captured by thermal surveillance satellites. He might even be mistaken for a plane or a missile. Therefore, Chen Zhao would mostly move under the sea. This could reduce the heat emitted from his body. Of course, if Chen Zhao wanted to fly high in the sky, he would try to slow down. As long as he didn't heat up, he was basically invisible. Unless someone saw him with the naked eye, he was almost impossible to discover. Chen Zhao could only move at night. If he flew in the sky during the day, he would be discovered too easily. Psionic Team Headquarters. Jeff Ryder was locked in a glass panoramic cell. Jeff Ryder could feel that he was being used as bait. Ever since he'd been brought here, the people here didn't care about him anymore. Without any interrogation, he was directly sent to the cell. Outside the glass cell, a few surveillance cameras were pointed at him. In the control room, Vestana glanced at Brits beside her. "Will he come tonight?" "That's possible," Brit said. Just then, the external surveillance flashed a few times. "There's a reaction from the surveillance outside number 3, another member in the control room reminded. A dozen figures appeared in the surveillance. They were all covered in a layer of black. Only one person's face could be seen clearly. Search for this person's identity. Abram Meddy, retired soldier, killer, mercenary. He used to be the boss of the freak gang on the streets of London. Disappeared 2 years ago. Is there any more information? No. Isn't he a spiritualist? There's no evidence that he's one. Then what are those black things around him? The black things were all equipped with all sorts of equipment. Brits, who's going to capture him? It's best if we send a tank. After transforming, a tank is immune to these firearms. Vestana nodded and picked up the microphone. Tank, can you hear me? There's a bunch of weird guys outside. Go capture the one that looks the most human. The rest are up to you. Chapter 1768. The pure metal door of the psionic headquarters rose slowly. Tank stood behind the door. Even in the night, his majestic figure couldn't be hidden. Tank, remember, that person needs to be alive. Tank responded to Vestana's request with an angry roar. In the control room, Vestana looked at Tank's body. How's Tank now? 21% rage. Weight 435 kilograms. Height 348 centimeters. Straight line speed is 28 meters per second. Maximum impact can reach 3,600 kilograms. His arms can hold 2,100 kilograms. Tank is in his normal form now. His rage isn't high, but it should be enough to deal with the things outside, Blitz said. Just then, Tank had already charged into the black figures on the screen. In an instant, Tank's straight-line charge pierced through the black figures' line of defense. The black figures were like liquid, collapsing upon contact with the tank. But soon they regrouped. It seemed that physical attacks were ineffective against them. Tank smashed his fists on the ground. Boom! Waves appeared on the ground. All the black figures within 10 meters were affected. The people who were affected by the shock wave collapsed and then reformed again. Thud, thud, thud. The other black figures started shooting at Tank. Sparks flew when the bullets hit Tank's body. Although the bullets couldn't penetrate Tank's body, they angered him. 28% rage. Weight 518 kilograms. Height 398 centimeters. Other stats are increasing. As Tank's rage rose, his strength also increased at a terrifying rate. But against these black figures, his attacks seemed to be very weak. These things should be immune to physical attacks. Tank's combat power and destructive power are almost perfect, but his fighting style is too simple. Against enemies that ignore physical attacks, he's very helpless, Blitz said. Vestana nodded. She couldn't help but recall the time in the Toda Snowy Mountains. In the battle between Chen Zhao and Kunka, Chen Zhao was also best at physical attacks. However, his attacks were more varied. He could attack a single person or a group of people. Thinking of this, Vestana couldn't help but look down at the exposed lines on her arm. She didn't know what to think. At this moment, the situation at the battle scene on the surveillance screen changed. The black figures suddenly approached Tank's body. Then, one of the black silhouettes suddenly grew in size, while the Tank's body shrank significantly. However, the figure's body suddenly exploded after swelling to a certain extent. Then he never recovered. Tank's rage level has dropped. Not good, call the tanks back, Blitz shouted. Those black figures will absorb the tank's magic power. At this time, Tank's rage value, after a brief decrease, suddenly rose again. Tank's rage has reached 65%. He's angry. The tank's body suddenly grew to a height of 550 centimeters. But at that moment, the other black figures used the same trick again. However, these black figures had clearly learned their lesson. After absorbing a certain amount of magic power, they stopped absorbing. Every black silhouette was about 400 centimeters tall, and they looked like black giants. Tank was infuriated, but his physical attacks were ineffective against these black figures. The only black figure that had been destroyed so far was because he had absorbed too much magic power. No, we have to call the tanks back and send someone else, Blitz said. He picked up the microphone and said, Tank, come back and retreat immediately. But at this moment, Tank was like a madman, attacking those black figures in a frenzy. This won't do. Once his rage level rises, he'll lose his mind. Meanwhile, Tank's rage level continued to rise, but he was facing a group of enemies that couldn't be killed. The more it was like this, the angrier he became, and the higher his rage level became. At this time, all the black figures had turned into small giants. They were also extremely strong, although not as strong as Tank, but their combat power had increased by a lot. Tank's bad side is that his combat power is related to his rage level. Once his rage level rises, he'll lose his mind, Blitz said helplessly. When Tank lost his mind in battle, not only would his combat power increase greatly, he would also lose his mind. There were a few times when Tank had lost his mind and attacked his companions. So now, when Tank attacked, the other members of the psionic team wouldn't do anything. And when the psionic team attacked, they wouldn't let Tank attack. They were worried about friendly fire. I really shouldn't have let Tank attack, Vestana said regretfully. Blitz's expression was a bit ugly. The battlefield seemed to have reached a stalemate. In reality, the longer the battle dragged on, the more disadvantageous it would be for Tank. Tank wasn't a perpetual motion machine. Sooner or later, he would run out of energy. But those black figures wouldn't get tired. They wanted to support Tank, but they were worried that Tank would accidentally hurt his companions. Vestana's gaze fell on Mady. Mady had been staying away from the battlefield and didn't participate. Those black figures seemed to be controlled by that guy called Mady, Vestana said. Vestana said, if we send someone to snipe Mehdi from afar without intervening in the battle, we might be able to control the situation. But don't you want him alive? Now isn't the time to care about the enemy's life or death. The most important thing right now is to stop this battle. Otherwise, Tank might be injured or even killed. Maybe Sam Mira has a way. Her. Vestana thought about it and nodded. Then let's try. If it doesn't work, we'll just kill him. He's our enemy anyway. There's no need to pity our enemy. Sam Milla, you're going out now. Your target is that human. Attack from a distance. Bring him back as long as it's within your capabilities. If you can't do it, just kill that human, Vestana ordered into the microphone. Sam Mira didn't go out through the main door. Instead, he stood on the roof of the headquarters and watched the battlefield from afar. Sam Mira, do you have a way? We can try, Sam Mira replied. At the same time, he raised his arms and shouted, ancient elf in the rock, please bring my enemy to me." 2 rock snakes emerged from the sand below and charged at my D. The 2 rock snakes were extremely fast. They were more than 10 meters long and as thick as buckets. Just then, Matey suddenly turned into a tank-like giant. His body instantly grew bigger, and he punched the 2 rock snakes into powder. Chapter 1769. The expressions of the people in the control room and Samira, who was on the rooftop, changed. "That person also has the same ability as the black figure," said Brits. That Matey didn't have close contact with Tank, but after the black figure absorbed Tank's magic power, Matey has the same ability. It seems that the black figure and Matey are somehow connected. Pondering for a moment, Brits said, "It should be a contract. That Matey isn't a spiritualist. Those black figures must have been summoned by Matey. But there's a real spiritualist in the middle. Those black figures seem to be Matey's evil incarnation." In the psionic team, Brits was known as the little encyclopedia of magic. The number of spells he knew and mastered was innumerable. Soon he could guess most of it. Of course, in the world of magic, there are as many types of spells as the sea of stars. Moreover, new spells were being created and lost every moment. So, even Brits couldn't master all the spells. However, Brits could still distinguish their types and characteristics through some details. Brits picked up the microphone and said to Samira, "Samira, change to a magic attack. It's best if it's a direct one." "Mr. Brits, my magic attack can't hit a target that far away," said Samira. "What about confinement?" "That won't work either." "Then what other spells do you have that can solve the current problem, as long as they can attack or kill the target?" Brits was rather unfamiliar with Samira's ancient god spawn spell. Spawn spells borrowed the power of ancient gods. They were even more ancient than the common demonic spells nowadays, and their circulation was limited. Most spawn spells summoned ancient gods that were illusory or physical. "I'll try," said Samira. Taking a deep breath, Samira raised his right arm and pointed at Matey from 1,000 meters away. "Spirit of the ancient star, hear my call. Send down your divine might for me to use." Just then, 3 balls of light appeared above Matey's head. Each of the 3 balls of light shot out a beam of light at Matey from 3 different angles. Matey reacted quickly and dodged the 3 intersecting beams of light. The 3 beams of light streaked across the ground, leaving 3 scorch marks. In the control room, Blitz shook his head. Samira's spell is quite powerful, but the prelude to the attack is too long, and the trajectory is too obvious. Even a normal person would be able to avoid it. Vestana nodded. There was indeed a huge problem. "What do we do now?" Vestana asked. "Let me do it," Brits said. Wistana thought for a moment. If it wasn't necessary, Brits wouldn't have intervened. After all, Blitz was the deputy leader, and he was an excellent commander. Only by commanding from the rear could he display his greatest effectiveness. There were many people in the psionic ability team who were not weak. However, under such circumstances, it was difficult for him to display his true strength. As a result, Brits had no choice but to act. Vedhana suddenly remembered the supernatural society. If they were in his shoes, what would they do? Brits got up and left the headquarters, heading in the direction of Matey. Matey noticed Brits coming over and immediately tensed up. In the end, he was just an ordinary person. He knew that there were strange powers and gods in this world, as well as mysterious and bizarre powers. In Brits's hand was a 36-sided die. As he walked, Brits tossed the die into the air and grabbed it. 29. Brits knew the number even without looking at the face of the die. Looks like white magic is suitable for this battle. Brits used the die to determine the spell to use. Speaking of which, this was also a prophecy spell. It was used to predict what type of spell to use. 2 white balls of light appeared in Brits's hands. Just then, a black figure broke away from the battle and charged at Brits. Brits tossed the white balls of light in his hands. The black figure couldn't dodge in time and was instantly hit by the white balls. Whoa! The black figure let out a strange cry, and its body suddenly melted into black. Looks like holy magic is very effective against these black figures, Brits muttered to himself. They must be evil clones created by negative emotions. Brits continued walking toward Matey. Knowing that he was no match for Brits, Matey hurriedly ran toward the tank. Brits looked at Matey's figure. Not stupid. The ball of light in Brits's hands turned into a longbow. Brits pulled the bowstring, and a white arrow appeared on the bowstring. The white arrow was aimed at Matey, and the bowstring was lightly released. The white arrow flew straight at Matey. Matey's body was instantly hit, and the arrow pierced through his body. Matey let out a scream of pain, making him wish he was dead. Matey struggled to look at Brits, and raised his hand to control the dozen black figures. Under Matey's control, the black figures began to merge into one, a 10-meter tall black giant, so much so that even the tank was much smaller than this black giant. The black giant raised his leg and heavily kicked the tank's body. The tank was sent flying and fell towards Blitz. "Oh no!" Brits exclaimed in shock and hurriedly dodged. Tank landed next to Brits and immediately got up, but his target had changed to Brits. "Damn it!" Blitz cursed inwardly and hurriedly shouted, "Holy light chain!" A dozen silver-white chains shot out from the dark night and bound the tank tightly. But right now, Tank was extraordinarily strong, and he kept struggling, trying to break free of the chain's restraints. Brits had to divert even more magic power to restrain Tank. But at that moment, the black giant was already swinging towards Brits. Judgment! Brits had to divert part of his power to deal with the black giant. With a shout from Brits, a holy light sword descended from the sky, piercing through the black giant's chest and nailing him to the ground. But the black giant wasn't destroyed. It struggled to fight again, as if trying to pull out the holy light sword from his chest. "Give me another judgment." Brits shouted again, and another holy light sword descended from the sky, piercing through the black giant's body once more. Only then did the black giant kneel on the ground. It was the embodiment of evil. It couldn't endure being pierced by the power of holy light again and again. Brits's face was a bit pale. If it was just Tank or the black giant, he wouldn't have had so much trouble. But it was Tank who was supposed to be in his camp who was causing trouble here, forcing him to expend several times more magic power to barely control the situation. But at that moment, a voice came from the darkness. "Not bad, but not enough to stop me." Chapter 1770. A strangely dressed black man walked out of the darkness. "Mr. Bo-Tuesday!" Seeing Bo-Two's arrival, Matey was overjoyed. Bo-Two pointed his skeletal staff at Matey. The black giant that was pierced by the two holy swords turned into a puddle of dirty water, which surged toward Matey like a tide. The puddle of dirty water poured directly into Matey's mouth. Matey looked at his body in disbelief. He felt an indescribable power filling his body. Brits frowned, clearly sensing that this black man called Bo-Two wasn't easy to deal with. "My request is simple. Return Jeff Ride to me," Bo-Two said calmly. "What if I refuse?" Brits stared at Bo-Tuesday. Neither he nor the psionic team would compromise on this matter, just like how the government wouldn't compromise with terrorists. This was a matter of principle. If they could compromise with Bo-Two once, they would compromise with other enemies in the future. "Then I'm sorry." Bo-Two tapped his skeletal staff on the ground, and a patch of darkness spread toward Brits. Brits suddenly moved and jumped onto Tank's shoulder. Holy Angel's radiance. In an instant, the chains binding Tank melted into his skin, and white tattoos began to appear on his skin. The white tattoos instantly made Tank feel an indescribable sense of tranquility, and at the same time, they gave him even purer power. "Brits, why are you here?" Tank, who had regained his senses, found Brits standing on his shoulder. The mastermind has appeared. Brits pointed at Bo Tuesday. Raise your rage level to the max and charge over. Don't worry about losing your mind. Tank's fists bumped together, and his breathing became heavier. As his rage level continued to rise, his strength and physique became even more exaggerated. Tank's feet stomped on the ground, and he charged forward like a high-speed train. Just then, Matey suddenly stood in front of Bo Tu and threw a punch at Tank's face. Tank met it with a punch of his own. Bang! A dull explosion resounded. Tank actually didn't get the upper hand. In the HQ surveillance room, Vistana's expression was solemn. It seemed that Brits and Tank alone couldn't guarantee victory. After Bo Tu's arrival, the situation began to tilt in his favor. All psionic team members, prepare for battle. All the members in the headquarters perked up. After gathering, they appeared outside the headquarters one after another. Including Tank, Brits, and Sam Milla, there were a total of 15 people. Bo Tu frowned slightly. It seemed like the situation was more serious than he had imagined. Bo Tu glanced at Tank, who was rampaging through his fallen domain. He was completely unaffected by the corrosion of his fallen domain. Taking a closer look, it should be the holy light blessing on his body. Suddenly, the Tank's feet sank, as if he had fallen into a swamp. The harder the Tank pushed, the more it sank in. At that moment, a dark-skinned man walked over. This man was probably from the Afro-Asian region. He wore a white robe and held a gold-inlaid scepter in his hand. Anubis, please lend me your army. I will bring you a gift of death. The sand on the ground billowed, and tall Anubis warriors with dog heads and human bodies stood up from the sand. He was a Merstein from Egypt. He called himself Anubis Shaman. A large number of black figures also appeared in Bo Tu's dark domain. The black figures and the Anubis warriors were engaged in a chaotic battle. For a moment, it was difficult to determine the victor. A ball of flame shot out from the darkness and attacked Bo Tu's back. Bo Tu immediately swept up the black substance to block the flame. The sneak attacker failed to land a hit, so he immediately bounced back and disappeared into the night. The shadow assassin, Singh, was also a difficult opponent. Ancient King, please show your invincibility and accept the worship of the world. A pair of huge arms, formed by energy, appeared beside Sam Milla. Sam Milla did not have enough magic power. He could only summon a pair of the Ancient King's arms at most. Bo Tu's expression was grave. He did not expect such a difficult organization to exist in North America. He had thought that he could do whatever he wanted in North America alone. He did not expect to suffer in a magical desert like this. At this moment, he had to admit that he could not break into the psionic team's headquarters alone. Bo Tu looked around and suddenly retracted his fallen domain. Matey, let's go. With that, Bo Tu controlled the black substance to wrap around Matey and quickly left the battlefield. Don't chase, Brits ordered. This was their home ground, but if they were to chase Bo Tu, who knew what kind of trap Bo Tu had prepared for them? Bo Tu was so powerful that none of them could fight against him alone. Once they were in danger, it was very likely that Bo Tu would defeat them one by one. Return to the headquarters. The psionic team returned to the headquarters. Everyone had a grave expression on their faces. They could clearly feel Bo Tu's powerful strength. No one would be able to fight Bo Tu alone. Everyone gathered in the conference room, which was very depressing. After all, everyone could feel the pressure. It was different from the Stone of Slaughter incident last time. Tamamo no Mei's appearance gave them the feeling that she was going to destroy the world. They felt that they were not fighting against an enemy, but against nature. Therefore, no one would feel dejected. The difference between their levels was too great. That was what everyone knew. However, Bo Tu's strength was predictable. They could clearly feel the difference if they were alone. Even if they worked together, they could not guarantee that they could defeat him. Bo Tu could attack and defend at will, which made everyone feel uncomfortable. Moreover, as long as Bo too did not attack and hid in the dark, he could make them feel pain. No one could defend forever, but Bo too could hide forever. Vestana looked at Brits. Brits, what do you want to say? After pondering for a long time, Blitz said, we can't just passively defend. We have to take the initiative to attack and track down the whereabouts of that spirit controller. Then we have to capture or eliminate him. Otherwise, we'll be in more trouble. Vestana thought about it and asked, why does that wizard have to save Jeff Ride? Probably because he has some kind of contract with Jeff Ride, so he has to save him. Of course, it could also be that he lent his power to Jeff Ride, so he needs to get his power back. What if we kill Jeff Ride? Chapter 1771. No, I can't confirm their true relationship right now. It's possible that he wants to kill Jeff Ryder. If we kill Jeff Ryder, we might fulfill his wish. Vestana's eyes flashed. But, she said meaningfully, do we really have to fight him to the death? Everyone's eyes fell on Vestana. A few of them were still in a daze. Find his tracks, Vestana said. Don't do anything yet. In the morning, Portia walked out of the villa after washing up. She had to admit that staying here for a night gave her an indescribable sense of comfort. She didn't need to turn on the air conditioner. As long as she opened the windows at night, the sea breeze would bring her a refreshing feeling. It wasn't cold, but it wasn't hot either. The sound of the waves wasn't ear-piercing either. Instead, it made her fall asleep even faster. Portia suddenly realized that breakfast was already prepared. It was as sumptuous as ever. Had Chen Zhao and Fei Lai woken up early to prepare breakfast? Portia was in disbelief. Impossible. Was there a chef in the villa? Otherwise, how could they prepare such sumptuous food every day? She didn't believe that Chen Zhao and Fei Lai would wake up. As expected, they didn't wake up until 8. They were clearly not the type to sleep early and wake up early. Both of them got out of bed and washed up. Then, they sat down at the breakfast table to eat. It was as if it was natural to wake up and find a table full of sumptuous breakfast. Portia, aren't you going to eat? Chen Zhao glanced at her. Portia had been looking at them strangely the entire morning. Boss, do you have a chef in your house? Yeah. Don't you know? Who knew? She'd never seen one before. Where is he? How come I've never seen him before? Oh, I'll introduce you guys when I'm free. Isn't he in the villa now? No. He left after making breakfast. What about lunch and dinner? Why are you asking so many questions? I'm curious. Don't be too curious. In movies, curious people always die faster. Portia shuddered. Had she asked something she shouldn't have? Portia, don't listen to Chen's nonsense. All right, actually, the head chef is very ugly, so he doesn't want to appear in front of outsiders. Plus, he's weird. If he sees someone prettier than him, he'll get jealous. Then you'll disappear without a trace. Maybe you'll appear at our table. Portia gulped and Fei Lai rolled her eyes. Do you really have to scare Portia? Portia was completely speechless at Chen Zhao's evil boss. However, Chen Zhao's mysterious tone made Portia even more curious. She had a feeling that they were hiding something. Was it really as Chen Zhao said? Chen Zhao looked like he was serious, but also like he was joking. For a moment, Portia couldn't tell if it was real or fake. Besides, Fei Lai was so pretty. If the chef was jealous, Fei Lai should be the one who should be the most jealous, right? But every time she came to the Bright Moon Villa, as long as it was mealtime, it would be very sumptuous. That was illogical. After breakfast, Fei Lai went to the coastal rescue team. Portia, on the other hand, was reading a magazine in the yard. Chen Zhao was working out. In Portia's eyes, Chen Zhao was a fitness maniac. Whenever he was free, he would work out. Kallan came and started training with Chen Zhao again. Kallan realized that no matter how fast he increased his speed, Chen Zhao could always keep up. This made him a bit discouraged. Chen Zhao had said that he was a strength-enhancing type, not a speed-enhancing type. But an amateur like Chen Zhao was actually stronger than a professional. This was a blow to Kallan. It was like swimming, but it was faster than sprinting. If it was a professional sports competition, it would have been impossible for this to happen. Mr. Chen, how can you be so fast? It's not that I'm fast. It's because my level is higher than yours, Chen Zhao said. You've played online games before, right? A level 10 newbie and a level 100 player. Even the lowest stats of the level 100 player are higher than the highest stats of the level 10 player. So the difference between us is 10 times. Maybe the level difference is 10 times, but the stats are more than that. Okay, Kallan said. I'll surpass you one day, at least in terms of speed. Mr. Chen, I have classes in the afternoon. Then let's call it a day, Chen Zhao said. After Kallan left Mingyue Villa, he hurried to school. When he reached the school gate, a stranger suddenly walked over. Hello, sir, the stranger called out. Kallan turned around and looked at the stranger in confusion. The stranger wore a cap, so he couldn't see his face clearly. He could only vaguely see that his face was covered in stubble. His clothes were a bit dirty. It seemed like he hadn't changed in days. At the same time, there was a pungent smell on his body. Kallan took a step back instinctively. Hello, who are you? The stranger looked up. Are you a speed-enhancing spiritualist? Kallan was stunned. Who was this person? How did he know his identity? Was he also a spiritualist? I have something to talk to you about, the stranger said. Can I borrow some of your time? Kallan remembered that he'd met someone from the psionic team last time. So, Kallan was instinctively on guard. He wasn't sure of the stranger's intentions, nor did he know his identity. Kallan wouldn't obediently cooperate with the stranger's request. I don't know you. Mr. Kallan, you don't want to fight here, right? The stranger said. Kallan frowned. Was he threatening him? Who exactly are you? I just want to talk to you. Of course. The way you talk depends on you, the stranger said. Kallan thought about it. As a spiritualist, he obviously couldn't expose his identity so easily, but from the stranger's tone, he didn't seem to mind exposing himself. He was at the school gate and there were people coming and going. It was indeed inconvenient to fight. Where to? To my car. The stranger pointed at his car. Kallan thought about it and followed the stranger into the car. But the moment he got in, a black liquid suddenly appeared in the depths of the car. Kallan immediately realized that it was a trap. But before he could react, the black liquid started absorbing his magic the moment it came into contact with Kallan's skin. 9 Heavens, Divine Emperor. Chapter 1772. Amy and Ceylon sat before Kallan's bed. Just then, the door was pushed open. Seeing Chen Zhao come in, Amy was surprised. Mr. Chen. Chen Zhao was also surprised. Amy, hello. Did an elite ask you to come? Amy asked. Yes, an elite is on a business trip, so he asked me to see if there's anything I can help with, Chen Zhao said. I don't know who my son offended. He was dumped at the school gate for no reason. Actually, if Chen Zhao hadn't heard it from an elite, he wouldn't have known that Kallan was Angelite's son. But thinking carefully, both of them had awakened special bloodlines, and they were both agility-type spiritualists. Chen Zhao hadn't thought about this at all. If he hadn't seen Amy and Ceylon, he would have almost forgotten about it. Right now, Amy's face was full of bitterness. An elite, whom she could rely on, had gone on a business trip again. As a woman, she didn't know what to do. Can you tell me about Kallan's condition? Chen Zhao walked to the bed. Mr. Chen, the doctor said that Kallan isn't injured. The reason for his coma isn't clear yet. Chen Zhao suddenly felt that Ceylon had been staring at him. Chen Zhao looked up at her and smiled. Ceylon, do you still remember me? Yes, Ceylon said, nodding. You're really good. Chen Zhao touched Ceylon's head. Seeing the toolbox Chen Zhao had put down, Amy asked, Mr. Chen, are you a doctor? I'm a medical professor at the LA branch, Qin Zhao answered. Oh, I see. Amy relaxed. Since he was a medical professor, there was definitely no problem. He was also Angelite's superior. Qin Zhao pulled Colin's wrist. Colin had used up a lot of his magic. Had he fought with someone? He wasn't physically injured, but he'd used up too much magic, so he wasn't very energetic. Amy, I need to perform acupuncture on Colin. Is that okay? Qin Zhao asked. Acupuncture? Can you wake Colin up? Yes. Okay, thank you, Mr. Qin. Amy nodded. Do you need us to leave? No. Qin Zhao shook his head. He'll be fine soon. Qin Zhao flipped Colin over and pulled open his shirt. Afterwards, he began to insert silver needles into Kulan's body. One of the needles was inserted into his qi sea. Qin Zhao flicked the silver needle in his sea of qi with his finger. Then, Colin's body suddenly trembled. Don't move, Qin Zhao said. There's a needle on your back. You don't want it to pierce your body, right? Amy's face was filled with surprise. She didn't expect Qin Zhao's acupuncture to be so effective. In the beginning, Qin Zhao said that it would be healed soon. She was still in disbelief. The doctor from the nearby hospital said that he still needed to be observed and his current condition was unknown. In her heart, she was more inclined to the hospital's explanation. He didn't expect Qin Zhao to do what he said. He said it would only take a while, and sure enough, Kellen woke up in the blink of an eye. Colin, listen to Mr. Qin. Don't move. Mom. Colin didn't expect his mother to be here. Qin Zhao put away the needles and patted Colin's shoulder. It's done. Amy ran over excitedly. Who did you offend, Colin? Are you a member of some gang? Did you get into some kind of trouble? Parents were all like that. They always thought that their child had gotten into trouble outside. Did he offend a gang? Did he participate in gang activities? Amy, Colin might be a bit malnourished. He's slightly anemic and didn't rest properly after a high-intensity workout. That's why he's in a coma, Qin Zhao said. Is that so? Amy looked at Colin. Mom, I don't even know what happened. Why am I in the hospital? Really? Amy, you should trust your child. Fine, I was thinking too much. Qin Zhao took out a piece of paper. Amy, this is my phone number. Call me if you have any problems. Of course. I hope you never call me. I know. Thank you, Mr. Qin. Colin, let me check your body again, Qin Zhao said. Amy, can you give Colin some privacy? Of course, if you want to keep watching him take off his pants, I don't mind either. Fine. Amy, help Colin get discharged. Our company reimburses family medical expenses, but Colin probably doesn't need it. Amy had a good impression of Qin Zhao. Because of this, she changed her opinion of Angelite's work. In comparison, an elite had a good relationship with his colleagues. Last time, in order to help an elite, they'd all gone to San Jose to explain. Qin Zhao's boss was also very kind and friendly. He'd even come to help Colin. Oh, I'll treat you guys to dinner tonight, Qin Zhao said. Mr. Qin, that's not good. You guys definitely didn't prepare dinner. Neither did I. It's settled. After Amy and Silon left, Qin Zhao changed his expression. Colin, who did you meet? You look like you've been through a big battle. Mr. Qin, you know my mother and father. Your father, an elite, is my subordinate. What? Colin was shocked. Wait, isn't my father working for the supernatural organization? You're the president of the organization? Colin didn't expect that the person he'd been in contact with was the president of the organization. You already knew? No, I just found out, Qin Zhao said. Tell me, what happened to you today? Colin told him the whole story. You don't know that person at all? I'm sure I don't know him at all. I don't even know why he's looking for me. Since the other party is also a spiritualist, he either found you through a spiritualist that you know or through some channel that sells information about local spiritualists. But I still don't understand why he did this. He absorbed my magic, but what can he do with it? I don't know, but they definitely have a purpose. Will they hurt my family? My mom and sister? Probably not. Of course, don't go out these 2 days. Stay home and call me if you have any problems. Okay, got it. Change your clothes, and I'll treat you guys to dinner. Colin had just taken off his pants when Amy suddenly pushed open the door. Mom, I'm changing. Amy rolled her eyes. Fine, it's not like I haven't seen it before. Mr. Chen, is Colin okay? Other than being hurt by you while changing, everything else is fine. 9 Heavens, Divine Emperor. Chapter 1773. Mr. Chen, this restaurant is very expensive, right? Mom, Mr. Chen is very rich. Shut up. Amy glared at Colin. Amy, this restaurant is mine, so it doesn't matter. Fine. However, Amy put the menu down again after picking it up. Every single dish on the menu scared her. The cheapest dish cost more than $200. Chen Zhao could understand Amy's current feelings. Colin and Ceylon were heartless. Ceylon was young and didn't know how to save money for Chen Zhao. Colin was too familiar with Chen Zhao and knew that Chen Zhao was rich. Amy, on the other hand, ate with trepidation. She didn't even taste the dishes before her. All she could think about was how much the dishes cost. Amy, if you don't mind the dishes, you can treat me next time. I can't afford such expensive food. Then treat me to your house. Fine. After dinner, Amy brought Colin and Ceylon home. After the family left, Chen Zhao's expression darkened. All the members of the supernatural organization had left. Only he stayed in L.A. This was like entrusting the family of the association members to Chen Zhao. But now Colin had been attacked. To Chen Zhao, this was a huge dereliction of duty. When Chen Zhao returned home, his expression was still tense. Jin, what happened? Fei Lai asked, concerned. Colin was attacked today. Does he have enemies? I don't think so. More importantly, Colin is Angelite's son. Huh? He's Angelite's son? Fei Lai was surprised too. She didn't expect him to be Angelite's son. When they first met, Chen Zhao had taught Colin a lesson. He'd even sent Colin to the hospital. Who's the culprit? I don't know. He doesn't have any enemies. He just awakened not long ago. Oh, he probably awakened after I sent him to the hospital. Fei Lai burst into laughter. It was really like a flood drowning a Dragon King's temple. They didn't know each other. Other than you, does he know any other spiritualists? I intend to investigate this as well. Today, Colin provided me with 2 spiritualists that he knows. One of them is more, and the other should be an idol spiritualist. Crumb up. Reminded by his companion, Crumb put his palms together, Akalanatha, treasure elephant King Kong. In an instant, the golden light shone brightly, and the entire dark space was enveloped by the brilliance. Crumb transformed into an 8-armed Vajra elephant. This Vajra was dignified and angry. Each of its 8 arms held a magic tool. Crumb was an outer disciple of Buddhism. What he cultivated was the Vajra Dharma form, not the Buddhist Dharma. This was mainly because one needed to abide by the precepts in order to cultivate the Dharma. However, the Vajra Dharma idol was also a secret technique of the Zen sect. Without a certain amount of luck, one could not cultivate it. The entry requirements for the Vajra Dharma idol were also extremely stringent. What is a Vajra? One must have a compassionate Buddha's heart and an Asura's killing intent. To put it bluntly, Vajra was a Buddhist fighter. Buddha only talked about compassion for everything. And Vajra was compassionate when it was time to be compassionate, and when it was time to kill, it was time to kill. As the saying goes, one Bodhi, one Asura. Crumb waved his 8 arms, and a golden light shot towards the ceiling above his head. In an instant, the filth hiding in the shadows of the ceiling fell to the ground. It was like rotten meat that had been stewed. Done, let's call it a day. Masa clapped his hands and looked at Crumb. Crumb, you can put away your technique. Crumb was still holding the Vajra Dharma idol. He frowned and looked around. My mind reading is telling me that the danger is not over yet. There seems to be an even greater danger, Crum said. Mind reading was a Buddhist technique. In scientific terms, it was a sixth sense. However, a sixth sense was an innate intuition. On the other hand, his heart connection could be obtained through cultivation. The perception of a normal spiritualist was sharper than that of a normal person. And after cultivating mind reading, it wasn't the perception that was improved, but the ability to predict. Especially when it came to certain things that were about to happen. Mind reading would give the user a strong signal. Do you really feel danger? Masa trusted Crum's mind reading. Yes. Suddenly, a voice came from the darkness. You're Crum. Startled, Crum and Masa turned to look at the darkness. Who are you? I'm Colin's elder, Qinzhao said. Colin's elder? How come I've never heard Colin mention you? Crum looked at the figure in the darkness suspiciously, but even with his Buddhist technique, he couldn't see the figure in the darkness. When he'd first met Colin had said that he was just an idle spiritualist. He'd just awakened and didn't know anyone. Now, Colin's elder had appeared. Colin was attacked today. What? Who did it? Crum cried out in shock. I want to know too, Qinzhao said. Have you told anyone about Colin's identity as a spiritualist? No, Crum said without hesitation. His Zen mind was the immovable wisdom king, and he practiced the Vajra Dharma idol. If he had any self-doubt, the Vajra Dharma idol would collapse instantly. But just then, Masa, who was standing behind Crum, was strangely calm. He even seemed to be avoiding Chen Zhao's gaze. Chen Zhao happened to see Masa's actions. Chen Zhao suddenly appeared before Masa. Do you know? I don't know. Masa avoided Chen Zhao's gaze, not daring to meet Chen Zhao's. Sir, let's talk. Crum reached out to pull Chen Zhao's shoulder, but Chen Zhao turned around and waved. Crum felt an unparalleled power burst forth from Chen Zhao's arm. Crum's tall body was sent flying. He crashed through the wall and landed on the ground outside the building. Crum vomited a mouthful of blood and stood up with difficulty. He was now empowered by the diamond gem elephant, which could even stop a speeding car. But facing this person, he'd been sent flying with one move. Crum couldn't believe that the young kid had such a terrifying elder. But Crum didn't have time to think so much. It seemed to be related to Masa. Plus, he had a close relationship with Masa, so he couldn't just watch. Looking at Masa, Chen Zhao said calmly, Tell me, what happened? Or maybe you were the one who attacked Colin. It wasn't me. It really wasn't me. Masa hurriedly waved his hands. The person in front of him had sent Crum, who was at his peak, flying with a single punch. This kind of strength was definitely not something he could fight against. Masa was also terrified. He didn't expect the kid to have such an elder supporting him. Chapter 1774. Suddenly, Crum broke through the wall again and charged in. Crum's huge body stood there, his 8 arms forming 4 hand seals. Telekinesis. Chen Zhao suddenly felt his body freeze for a moment. It was like when he'd encountered Black Dragon in the Tower of Trial. Black Dragon had frozen him. However, Crum wasn't as strong as Black Dragon. Every time Black Dragon froze Chen Zhao, he could attack or dodge Chen Zhao's attack. But Crum couldn't do anything. Instead, he spat out a mouthful of blood. Buddhism's telekinesis and Taoism's body freeze were actually similar spells. They both used their own powers to suppress the opponent. But Crum had never seen such a terrifying opponent. Not only was his telekinesis ineffective, but it was also broken by the opponent. Instead, he'd been heavily injured. Crum only felt powerless. Chen Zhao glanced at Crum. If you don't want me to kill you, you better behave. Masa, who was closer to Chen Zhao, almost peed his pants. What about you? Are you going to talk or not? I'll talk. Masa said hurriedly. Masa raised his hands in a gesture of surrender. But the next moment, Masa suddenly disappeared. Then, he appeared beside Crumb and grabbed him. The next moment, he disappeared again. Masa, you run. If we don't run, he'll kill us. Did you really do the attack on Kalon? Run first, Masa said. I'll tell you later. Masa was an extremely rare spatial spell, and he was best at telekinesis. If he wanted to run, no one could stop him. In just 3 or 4 seconds, Masa had already escaped 1 kilometer with Crumb. Stop! Stop! Danger! Crumb suddenly yelled. What? Boom! Suddenly, something fell from the sky. A huge impact spread out in all directions. Masa and Crumb were both sent flying by the impact. They both spat out a mouthful of blood. Looking back, they saw Chen Zhao walk out of the huge hole. Seems like my temper has gotten better recently. I didn't kill you too directly. Wait. Cough, cough. Masa spat out another mouthful of blood. Masa was in great pain both physically and mentally. His teleportation had always been successful, but this time he was defeated by Chen Zhao. The dark lava engulfed Masa and Crumb. My patience is running out. I'll talk. I sold information. Someone wanted to buy information on all the enhanced type spiritualists in the city, and I sold it to him, including information on Quran. Crumb looked at Masa in astonishment. He had known Masa for a few years, but he didn't know that Masa had this kind of business as well. Who bought it? Chen Zhao asked. It's a black man. He's dressed very strangely. There's a very annoying aura about him. Chen Zhao raised an eyebrow. A black man with a disgusting aura. His contact information. He showed up in front of me. I don't have his number, Masa said. Chen Zhao looked at Masa. Your job of selling information is a failure. Masa was crying out in pain as the dark magma continued to tighten. I'll help you find him. I'll help you find him, Masa said painfully. Who? The restraints on Masa and Crumb disappeared, and they were thrown onto the ground. Good. Don't make me wait too long, Chen Zhao said. All right. Don't let Quran know about us. It's our little secret, okay? Crumb didn't know what to say to Masa. If it were him, if his juniors were hurt, he would do the same. He would do the same thing. But Masa was his friend too. He obviously didn't want things to become irreversible. Fortunately, Chen Zhao didn't plan on killing them. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to kill him even if they had 10 lives. 3 days later. Not good. The situation wasn't good. Masa and Crumb didn't know if they didn't check, but after checking, they found out. Since the day Masa sold the information, 13 spiritualists had been attacked. On the first day, including Quran, 3 spiritualists were attacked. On the second day, 7 more were attacked. On the third day, 3 were attacked. Moreover, all the spiritualists who had been attacked had been provided by Masa. If this news were to leak out, Masa would definitely die without a complete corpse. Most of these spiritualists weren't alone. For example, Quran thought that he was a newbie, but in the end, a single person behind him could kill both of them. Masa panicked now too. He'd been selling information for a long time, but he'd never made such a big mess. More than 10 spiritualists had been attacked. If the relatives and friends of these 10 spiritualists all came knocking on their door, then Masa would really be dead. Masa, we have to find the person who bought your information. Otherwise, the situation will really go out of control, Crumb said seriously. Crumb said solemnly, and it's been 3 days and there's still no news. That person has a very bad temper. I know, but I have no choice. I want to find that person too. Oh, is there anyone who hasn't been attacked in the information you sold? Crumb asked. Masa's eyes brightened. Oh, I remember now. There's one more person who hasn't been attacked. Go watch that person immediately. Ms. Vestana, that guy is crazy. Are you sure you want to meet him alone? Brits asked. It's okay. Don't worry about me. Vestana glanced at the half-finished building in front of her. Let me go with you. No need. I'm more confident in persuading him alone. Brits thought for a moment. Ms. Vestana, I'll give you 30 minutes. If you don't come out in 30 minutes, I'll bring people to attack. Vestana walked in. Inside the building, Beau 2 was on the first floor. Beau 2 was on the first floor with Matey standing beside him. Miss, do you know what you're doing? Beau 2 said in a creepy voice. Even though it was daytime, Vestana felt a chill down her spine. Mr. Beau 2, I'm a normal person. I know, I can tell, Beau 2 said calmly. But if I want to kill someone, it has nothing to do with whether you're a normal person or not. Mr. Beau 2, you've caused quite a commotion in L.A. these days. In the African plains, a lion can eat whatever it thinks is its prey, Beau 2 said. But lions have their own pride too. Otherwise, they'll also become hyenas' prey, Vestana said. Vestana said, Your goal is nothing more than to find Jeff Ryder. I can give it back to you. Chapter 1775. You want a lion to be led by a sheep. Beau 2 looked at her expressionlessly. Trust me, Mr. Beau Tuesday. This is your best choice. I've never been coerced. A person who doesn't know when to retreat is very stupid. Vestana was even calmer. You too. Walking in here without any preparation is your biggest mistake, Beau 2 said. Are you sure I'm unprepared? Vestana smiled faintly. Are you talking about the people outside? They can't save you. Vestana was still calm. She opened her coat, and there were small bottles hanging inside. What do you think of these? Bombs? That can't hurt me. These are potassium anhydride and manganese compounds. If you don't know what they are, you can ask Mr. Matey next to you. Mr. Beau 2, these things on her can blow up the whole building, Matey said in a low voice. Beau 2 smiled. Very well. Is this your acknowledgement of me? I need to think about it. How long? A day, Beau 2 said. I hope you won't disappoint me, Vestana said. You're very powerful, but you're not invincible. Mr. Beau 2, you should know what I mean. Vestana walked out of the building. Brits immediately came up to her. Miss Vestana, that madman didn't do anything to you? No. Vestana glanced at the dice in Brits's hand. Did you calculate my luck for today before I went in? Yes. Brits looked at the dice in his hand. What's the result? Stupid decision, Brits said. Looks like your calculation isn't accurate, Vestana said with a smile. Did he agree? He will, Vestana said. Beau 2 looked up at the factory in front of him. His final goal was to work in this factory. Hey, who are you looking for? A worker walked out. Hello, I'm looking for Kevin. Can you call him out? Kevin? Okay. After a while, a somewhat short worker walked out. However, this worker's figure was very refined. It felt like every muscle on his body had no excess fat. There was still some dirt on his face as he looked at Beau 2 in confusion. Hello, are you looking for me? Yes, you're Kevin, right? I mean, do we know each other? I don't know him. Then why are you looking for me? You're an enhancer? You don't look like an enhancer. Kevin looked at Beau Tuesday, you too? Beau 2 ignored Kevin's question and continued staring at him. Are you really an enhancer? If you don't want to say it, then forget it. I'm leaving. With that, Kevin turned around and left. But at some point, Matey was still standing behind Kevin. Do you want to fight me? Kevin looked at Matey, and Beau Tuesday, there's something. But it's not convenient to say it here. Why don't we talk in our car? Matey said, but at that moment, Kevin broke into a run. Actually, Kevin had been pretending to be calm. He was a spiritualist. How could he not know what had happened in Los Angeles recently? More than 10 enhancer spiritualists had been attacked, and Kevin knew a few of them. Just now, Beau 2 kept asking if he was an enhancer, so Kevin was already secretly on guard. Matey suddenly burst out with shocking speed and charged at Kevin. He pressed down on Kevin's head and pressed him to the ground. But Kevin's body displayed a level of softness that surpassed humans. With a twist of his neck, he actually managed to twist his head away before it touched the ground. His shoulders, neck, and arms were all twisted as well. Like a mudfish, he hurriedly broke free from Matey's grasp. It's actually a soft body, Botu said, somewhat surprised. He didn't expect this enhancer spiritualist to have a rare soft body. Soft body was similar to yoga, but it didn't come from India. In fact, there were similar spells all over the world. There were also similar bloodlines that were very suitable for this kind of spell or magic. Kevin didn't even have time to be pleased with himself as he broke free. Suddenly, he felt his feet sink, as if he had sunk into a swamp. Just then, Matey walked over. Large amounts of black liquid seeped out of his hands. Kevin could feel that his mana was rapidly draining away. Okay, let's go, Botu said. The two of them left Kevin, who was already unconscious, and strode away. Before Botu left, he glanced in another direction. Mr. Botu, what's wrong? Nothing, Botu said, unconcerned. Those people probably sent them to monitor me. Mr. Botu, are we really joining that organization? Of course not, Botu said. But Jeff Ryder must return to me. In the direction Botu had looked at, Masa and Crumb were hiding nearby. That guy's weird, Crumb said. He seems to have discovered us. Who cares? We'll just send the message to that person, and then it'll have nothing to do with us. Masa only felt that the trouble was getting worse. He just wanted to escape as soon as possible. Masa dialed the number Chen Zhao had left. Sir, we found him. He just attacked an enhancer spiritualist. Follow him, Chen Zhao said. I'll go as soon as possible. That person is too dangerous, Masa said, troubled. Do you think I'm not dangerous enough? Chen Zhao's tone suddenly turned cold. Fine, we'll follow him. Masa could only bite the bullet. He told us to follow that person. Masa and Crumb followed him out of the city. Botu knew that someone was following him, but he mistook it for someone sent by the psionic team to monitor him. So he didn't do anything. He was going to the psionic team right now. He only wanted to get Jeff Ryder back. Thus, he allowed Crumb and Masa to follow him and didn't fight back. There seems to be a building up ahead. That's weird. When did such a building appear here? Crumb and Masa saw Botu's car enter the circular building up ahead. They didn't dare to go any further. Suddenly, Masa felt a chill on his neck. A dagger appeared on his neck. You better not move. Otherwise, it'll be hard for me to guarantee your safety. Crumb was about to transform into King Kong, but he felt a pain in his foot. A viper was coiled around his foot. 9 heavens, divine emperor. Chapter 1776. Crumb felt that his magic was disappearing rapidly. His body became weaker and weaker, and he finally fell to the ground. Aren't these two your people? Just then, Botu appeared before the two, and then Masa. I recognize you. You're the one who sold me the information. Bring them in first, Vestana said. At the same time, she looked at Botuesday. Also, welcome, Mr. Botuesday. Where's Jeff Ryde? He's inside. Vestana looked at Botu and took out a magic contract. Mr. Botu, why don't you sign this first? I need to confirm if Jeff Ryde is safe, Botu said. Okay. Vestana brought Botu into the HQ and to the glass room where Jeff Ryde was locked up. All the members of the psionic team were beside him. If Botu tried to kidnap Jeff Ryde, they would stop him immediately. Great. A smile appeared on Botu's face. Give me the contract. Botu pressed down his fingerprint without hesitation. Welcome, Botuesday. Vestana finally heaved a sigh of relief. We're on the same side now. Just then, a subordinate's voice sounded in Vestana's earpiece. Ms. Vestana, the president of the supernatural organization, is outside the HQ. Him? What's he doing here? Vestana frowned. Britz tossed the dice in his hand and caught it. When he opened his hand, there was no face. This was the first time such a faceless result had happened. Britz's expression was serious. Everyone get ready. Let's go welcome the president. It was Qin Zhao's first visit. All the psionic team members went out. Vestana led the way. This was different from last time when they met in public. Before, everyone had been at daggers drawn, but generally speaking, both sides had restrained themselves. But now it was different. Chen Zhao's intentions were unclear. "Hi, Mr. Qin." Vestana greeted Chen Zhao, pretending to be relaxed. "Hi, Ms. Vestana." Chen Zhao also greeted Vestana. However, Chen Zhao kept glancing at the psionic team members. "Mr. Qin, why didn't you tell us you were coming? We weren't prepared." "I can't help it. It was a spur-of-the-moment idea, so I didn't have time to inform you." Chen Zhao and Vestana exchanged pleasantries with each other. "Mr. Qin, what's the purpose of your visit?" "To find someone," Chen Zhao said. Vestana's heart skipped a beat. Could it be those two from before? Were those two from the supernatural organization? If that was the case, then he would be able to defeat him. After all, they were now minding their own business. But the people from the supernatural organization had come to the psionic team's territory, and he was caught red-handed by them. Vestana whispered a few words to her men. Then, Crumb and Masa were brought out and thrown before Chen Zhao. The two of them were as miserable as they could be, lying limply on the ground. "Mr. Qin, you're looking for them, right?" Vestana looked at him proudly. Now, she felt that the night in the desert was so wonderful, so pleasant. "They're not the people I'm looking for." Chen Zhao glanced at Crumb and Masa. Vestana was taken aback. "Not them." Chen Zhao looked down at Masa. "Where's the person I asked you to find?" Among them, it's that bald black man," Masa said weakly. Chen Zhao's gaze swept across everyone and finally landed on Bo Tuesday. Meeting Chen Zhao's gaze, Bo Tu narrowed his eyes. He could vaguely feel that Chen Zhao was here for him. "You, come out." Chen Zhao pointed at Bo Tuesday. Chen Zhao's action didn't just annoy Bo Tuesday. Everyone in the psionic team was displeased. Chen Zhao, an outsider, had actually come to their headquarters and asked for someone. Even if the psionic team had fought Bo Tu with their lives, no matter how they felt about Bo Tu now, he was at least a member of the psionic team. Vestana's expression darkened. "Mr. Qin, this isn't the supernatural organization." "So what?" Chen Zhao looked at Vestana disapprovingly. "Mr. Qin, are you here for trouble? Or do you want to start a war?" Vestana's smile disappeared. She looked at Chen Zhao with a dark gaze. "If you can't give me an explanation, I can only assume that you want to start a war with us." Chen Zhao's lips curled into a smile. He took a step forward and pressed toward Vestana. "I should be the one to explain. The family of a member of the supernatural organization was attacked, and it was your people who attacked her. Now either you hand her over, or I'll assume that you want to start a war." Vestana's expression changed again. She really didn't expect things to be like this. Bo Tu's crazy attack on spiritualists had probably happened a few days ago. According to Chen Zhao, Bo Tu was indeed in the wrong. However, Bo Tu wasn't a member of the psionic team. It was useless to explain things like this now, because Bo Tu was one of them now. So, Vestana couldn't hand Bo Tu over at all. Moreover, it was in front of everyone in the psionic team. If she handed Bo Tu over now, then the psionic team would completely fall apart. "I'll investigate this and give Mr. Chen an explanation," Vestana said. "I'm not asking you to give me an explanation," Chen Zhao said calmly. "I just want to know if you want to start a war." Vestana clenched her teeth, and her breathing became heavy. She didn't expect that recruiting Bo Tu into the psionic team would cause such trouble. She'd thought that Bo Tu's addition would greatly increase the psionic team's power. She didn't expect Chen Zhao to come looking for them right after. Everyone was burning with anger. At this moment, all of them were united against a common enemy. No one wanted to be useless. No one had to swallow their anger when they were bullied at their doorstep. Even Vestana was a bit furious. She glanced at Bo Tu from the corner of her eye. Bo Tu was so strong, If he worked together with the others in the psionic team, they might be able to defeat Qin Zhao. Vestana's idea became more and more unstoppable. She wanted to try. The chance was right before her. But now, the people of the supernatural organization weren't in Los Angeles. This was when Qin Zhao was alone. As long as she defeated Qin Zhao, the supernatural organization would be completely replaced by the psionic team. Should she do this? She could use this chance to challenge Qin Zhao. Vestana's breathing became heavier and heavier. Chapter 1777. Just as Vestana was about to make her decision, Botu and Mady walked out. "Ms. Vestana, don't worry." A strange smile appeared on Botu's face. He turned and looked at Qin Zhao. "I also want to see who gave you the courage to challenge me." Seeing Botu's black water seep out of his body, everyone retreated. They didn't want to be affected by Botu's black water. Qin Zhao walked toward Botu's day. When he stepped into the black water, he could feel the evil in it. The black water was like dark shadow, but they weren't the same thing. Botu's expression changed slightly. It was his first time encountering someone who dared to step into his fallen domain. In the past, all his enemies would choose to avoid his fallen domain. For example, when they fought just now, the psionic team would move away. Most importantly, Qin Zhao wasn't affected by the fallen domain. Suddenly, Mady disappeared. So fast! Everyone was shocked. They couldn't catch Mady's figure at all. Last time, he'd only absorbed a tank's magic power and had the strength of a tank. But this time, he had such an exaggerated speed. Were they attacking spiritualists everywhere because they could turn other people's magic power into their own? And this power could be stacked on top of each other? If that was the case, it was too scary. Vestana's eyes flashed. Maybe Botu and Mady could defeat Qin Zhao. Qin Zhao suddenly grabbed at the air. Mady appeared instantly and Qin Zhao grabbed his neck. Everyone sucked in a cold breath again. Qin Zhao grabbed Mady just like that, but just when everyone thought that Mady was caught, Mady's neck suddenly shrank. Qin Zhao felt like he'd grabbed a slippery loach. His hand slipped away immediately. Mady quickly retreated. Qin Zhao looked at his palm and continued walking toward Botu's day. Botu's expression was serious. Mady had absorbed the magic power of more than 10 people. This magic power would only decrease and not increase. But Mady was still at his peak. Even in this state, Mady couldn't fight Qin Zhao head-on. Voodoo be swarm. Botu quickly cast a spell. From the black water, swarms of black bees began to fly out. When the others saw the swarm of black bees, their expressions changed. Botu hadn't used this trick on them that day. The number of black wasps grew larger and larger. Gradually, it felt like the black wasps had turned into a dark cloud. Botu pointed at Qin Zhao. The black cloud formed by the black bees immediately surged toward Qin Zhao. Qin Zhao suddenly opened his mouth and started inhaling. The bees were sucked into his mouth uncontrollably. His stomach was like a bottomless pit, until the black hornet swarm was completely sucked dry. In the end, Qin Zhao chewed. "It tastes good raw too." Everyone's expression changed again. Just then, Mady appeared behind Qin Zhao. Pung! Qin Zhao turned around and punched. Mady's body froze. His head had already been smashed. Everyone's expression changed. In their eyes, Mady was already strong enough, but he couldn't even block a single move. Botu instinctively wanted to escape. However, Qin Zhao saw through Botu's intentions and instantly appeared before him. The psionic team members couldn't help but break out in a cold sweat. Because Qin Zhao was faster than Mady, at least Mady could still catch his trajectory. But Qin Zhao didn't even have a shadow. In the blink of an eye, he appeared before Botu's Dayu. Botu paled. Qin Zhao had already reached out and grabbed Botu's shoulder. "You're much weaker than I thought." Botu's fallen domain suddenly surged and rolled back from all directions, as if it was going to wrap around Qin Zhao. But the next moment, Qin Zhao released dark lava under his feet. Be it in terms of level or quantity, the dark lava had an absolute advantage. If Qin Zhao released it completely, the entire psionic team's headquarters would be swallowed by the dark lava. The dark lava swallowed Bo Tu's fallen domain directly. The expressions of Bo Tu and the psionic team froze. They'd thought that it would be a fierce battle, but the battle was one-sided. In the battle a few days ago, Bo Tu and the psionic team hadn't started an all-out battle, but they were at least evenly matched. But today, Meidi was far more powerful than before. But against Qin Zhao, he was in a hopeless situation. I've swallowed other people's mana before. Qin Zhao smiled, but in Bo Tu's eyes, Qin Zhao's smile was as terrifying as a demon's. But every time I swallow someone's flesh, I get sick, Qin Zhao said. But that won't be a problem with my dark lava devourer. Plus, your magic is compatible with my dark lava. They're both dark powers. The next moment, the dark lava suddenly poured into Bo Tu's mouth, nose, and ears. At the start, Bo Tu struggled violently, but it didn't last long. Bo Tu's limbs lost their strength. Qin Zhao casually threw Bo Tu into the dark lava. Bo Tu slowly sank into the dark lava and disappeared in the end. The dark lava quickly gathered under Qin Zhao's feet. In the end, it was completely collected. Qin Zhao turned to look at Vestana. Ms. Vestana, thank you for your cooperation. I hope that the supernatural organization and the psionic team can remain friends forever. Vestana's expression was extremely dark. She couldn't even give a perfunctory smile, because Qin Zhao had killed Bo Tu in front of everyone, even if Bo Tu stood out first. But Bo Tu was also a member of the psionic team. Qin Zhao had dealt a heavy blow to the unity of the psionic team. At the same time, he'd dealt a blow to her prestige. If there's nothing else, please leave, Vestana said with a dark expression. Qin Zhao looked at Vestana. I still want Jeff Ryder. Vestana was instantly enraged. I can't give Jeff Ryder to you. He's a criminal. Even if Jeff Ryder wasn't important, she didn't want to cooperate with Qin Zhao anymore. I know he's a criminal. Oh, right, I caught him myself. Qin Zhao smiled at Vestana. If you think I don't have the right to take him away, you can ask the victim. See if he favors you or me. Mr. Qin, don't you think you're going overboard? Blitz walked up and looked at Qin Zhao. Here comes another one. Qin Zhao looked at Blitz. Before you accuse me of going overboard, you better wash your own, but if there's a next time, I'll think without hesitation that you want to start a war. Chapter 1778. What a joke! They were enemies to begin with. Was Qin Zhao going to give them face? In the face of a group of people who were scheming to make him their enemy, Qin Zhao really wanted to kill them all. So, Qin Zhao would go as far as he could. If he could really provoke them and make them take the initiative to attack him, Qin Zhao wouldn't even give them a chance to breathe. If you're not willing to send me out, I can go in myself. Release him. Vestana gritted her teeth and roared. It was not hard to imagine how bad Vestana was feeling right now. But at the same time, she was glad that she didn't act rashly just now. Given the power Qin Zhao had displayed just now, killing Bo Tu did not take much effort at all. He had the strength to fight against them. If she hadn't been able to control herself just now, the psionic team might have ended here. This time, no one objected to Vestana. Qin Zhao's display of power also shocked them. Not everyone has the courage to face death. Of course, most of them were rational. On one hand, Bo Tu wasn't one of them. They didn't want to fight Qin Zhao to the death for Bo. Tuesday, Jeff Ryder was sent to Qin Zhao. Where's Mr. Bo Tu? Where's Mr. Botto? Where did he go? Why you? Bo Tu had clearly come just now. Why did he leave again? Jeff Ryder shouted uncontrollably. Qin Zhao ignored Jeff Ryder's shouts. He dragged him away, but after 2 steps he dragged Crumb and Masa away as well. What's wrong with you two? We've all been poisoned by the magic viper. We can't recover our magic power. Chen Zhao was too lazy to detoxify them. It would only take a couple of days anyway. The demonic viper was not fatal, at least not to a spiritualist. If an ordinary person was bitten by a demonic viper, they would still die. However, spiritualists would only lose their magic power. After 2 or 3 days, the body would develop antibodies and the demonic horned snake's venom would be detoxified. You guys rest in the car. Chen Zhao tossed Crumb and Masa in the car and turned to Jeff Ryder. Jeff Ryder started yelling again. He still couldn't accept reality. Suddenly, Chen Zhao carried Jeff Ryder and rose into the sky. Jeff Ryder was so scared that he was speechless. Flying. Flying, this person can fly? 10,000 meters, 12,000 meters, 15,000 meters, 20,000 meters. Jeff Ryder was having difficulty breathing. 20,000 meters was basically the limit of what humans could do without equipment. Speaking of which, Jeff Ryder's body was still in good shape. Most people would not be able to withstand it at 15,000 meters. Chen Zhao suddenly let go. Who? Jeff Ryder fell down uncontrollably. Of course, at an altitude of 20,000 meters, the speed of falling was still greatly affected by air resistance, so the speed was not considered fast. The lower the altitude, the greater the effect of gravity. You have about 3 minutes to answer my question. If you don't answer my question in 3 minutes, you'll die. Understand? Chen Zhao was also descending rapidly. Save me. Save me. I'll tell you everything you want to know. Where is Lothiel? Dead. He's dead. He's long dead. Then what's with the feeling in your body? I don't know. It's Bota's magic. It's his magic. He said I replaced Low Hill. What do you mean? I don't understand. I don't know either. I really don't know. Bota told me to eat Low Hill. You ate Low Hill? It's Bot too who forced me. He forced me. Chen Zhao only felt nauseous. However, Jeff Ryder's answer still did not explain the disgusting feeling in his body. Just as he was about to fall, Chen Zhao slowed down Jeff's fall and saved his life. But Jeff Ryder could no longer stand up. His eyes had lost focus, and his mouth was open, drool flowing out. Chen Zhao realized that Jeff Ryder's soul was damaged. Part of his soul had left his body. Scared out of his wits, however, this guy deserved it. Even if he was fine, Ellie Rodriguez Alexander would not let him go. Of course, from Chen Zhao's interaction with Ellie Rodriguez Alexander, he could tell that the old woman was not as kind as she looked. The old woman was not as benevolent as she looked. Even if Jeff Ryder was scared out of his wits, he might not be able to win Ellie Rodriguez Alexander's sympathy. On top of that, Ellie Rodriguez Alexander might even think that Jeff Ryder was pretending to be crazy. After all, if Chen Zhao could not see the nature of the soul, he might also suspect that Jeff Ryder was pretending. Chen Zhao tossed Jeff Ryder into the trunk. He did not care if he would suffocate him to death. Where do you two get off? After sending Crumb and Masa to their house, Chen Zhao left without a second thought. Then, Chen Zhao left Jeff Ryder at the entrance of the police station and called David. Chen Zhao was still thinking about the annoying spell. Be it Jeff Ryder or Bo Tu, both of them had that annoying vibe. Chen Zhao decided to call Zhang Tianyi again. Old Zhang, it's me, Chen Zhao. Do you know what time it is in China? Chen Zhao looked at the time. It should be morning. You should be up by now, right? I usually sleep until late in the morning. I'm old and can't compare to you young people. I'll sleep in. Don't talk about age. I can go 10 days and 10 nights without sleep. With your cultivation, you're probably going to abstain from eating, right? Can an old man like me compare to you? Although Zhang Tianyi's cultivation wasn't as good as Chen Zhao's, he could still see the world. Chen Zhao did not believe that he would have the mental problems of an old man. Tell me, what is it? Zhang Tianyi's tone changed, and he suddenly got to the point. Remember what I told you a few days ago. He's annoying. I caught him today, and he said that someone cast some kind of magic on him. Then he ate a living person, saying that he wanted to replace the meaning of his existence. Wait, you're saying that guy ate a living person? Yes, I think I know. I've never seen it, but I suddenly understand after hearing your description. What exactly is going on? Actually, that guy ate the karma of that unlucky guy and gave up his identity as a human. As for the annoying feeling you mentioned, it's actually this sense of dislocation. It's like a burly man wearing a woman's clothes. Not really. Nowadays, a lot of men look good in women's clothes. Chapter 1779. I've been watching Traps recently too, Zhang Tianyi said. Qin Zhao felt like he'd heard a huge secret. Forget it, Zhang Tianyi said seriously. Let's get back to business. I never changed the topic. You're the one who suddenly talked about Traps. Ahem. To be honest, there's nothing special about this spell. It's a spell that steals other people's karma. It sounds awesome, but it's actually a disguise. It can't fool anyone. If it's someone you haven't seen for years, you might be able to trick them with the faint shadow of the victim. But if it's someone the victim or the murderer is familiar with, it can't be hidden at all. Chun Zhao nodded. Ellie Rodriguez Alexander, who Jeff Ryder had lied to, hadn't seen her grandson for 20 years. Jeff Ryder's family or classmates could tell his original identity. So, this spell was indeed useless. Chun Zhao felt that if he had the time, he might as well make his face look like Low Hill. Perhaps the success rate would be higher. Of course, Botu was already dead, and Jeff Ryder deserved to die too. If Ellie Rodriguez Alexander knew that her grandson was eaten by Jeff Ryder, she would definitely be shocked. Qin Zhao wondered how Ellie Rodriguez would deal with Jeff Ryder. Oh, did you know that Tamamo no Mei came to China a while ago? And then she ran away, of course. Fuck, that little vixen captured the hearts of many boys and girls. Her performance was horrible. You saw it. I'm looking at it critically. Did she leave by herself? No, she was chased away. There's someone capable in China. Our country is vast, and there are countless hermit experts. What's so difficult about chasing away a little vixen? By the way, are there really hidden masters in China? I don't know, Zhang Tianyi said disapprovingly, but no matter how strong they are, they can't be higher than you. You're really a weirdo, but you do have a lot of treasures. It shouldn't be a problem to kill 1 or 2 little vixens. Qin Zhao remembered Zhang Tianyi's words. If they could kill Tamamo no Mei, they could probably kill him too. Since Huasha had it, other countries might have it too. Since Japan had 3 divine weapons, the other countries might also have 1 or 2 divine weapons if they pooled their resources together. When are you free to come to America again? I'll treat you to a meal. I'll never go to America again. I've calculated my fate. I won't leave Huasha before I die. So if you want to see me again, come back. We'll talk about it in the future. Qin Zhao sighed. Young man, if you don't get rid of your worries, your cultivation won't be refined. Don't talk nonsense. I don't believe that mental illness can affect one's cultivation. Your willpower is quite strong. Looks like this is useless against you. By the way, when you're at the end of your lifespan, do you want to learn from the 23rd generation Blood Mary and come up with a Longhu mission or something like that? Or do you want to take the treasure of the Celestial Master Sect of Longhu Mountain and hold a martial arts circle convention? Get lost. If I organize a martial arts tournament, it might just be for you. Do you think I'm stupid? Besides, I can still live for another 20 to 30 years. No matter what, I'll live longer than Blood Mary. Zhang Tianyi scolded with a smile. Plus, I don't see you being that enthusiastic about Blood Mary's Scarlet Mission. Zhang Tianyi might be in China, but he had connections and spies. The supernatural organization probably wouldn't be able to escape his eyes no matter what they did. The missions are too scattered and there are too many. Plus, her so-called reward is meaningless to me. I'm not interested at all. That's true. The Scarlet Church has a lot of good stuff, but she can't bear to take out the real good stuff. Forget it. I'll go back to sleep. Norway, deep in the forest, how long will the fog take to disperse? Gaia asked. There's no wind here all year round. The fog lasts for more than 10 days every time. The person who answered Gaia's question was a local spiritualist guide called Derlin. Other than being a spiritualist, Derlin was also a university professor. It was very easy to get lost and get separated in the fog. Of course, so far, the team was still intact. Everyone was equipped with a sat-nav watch. Other than positioning, the sat-nav watch could also send out distress signals and find out the location and distance between each other. But everyone could feel that Derlin seemed to be looking down on them, because they were from North America. Also, because along the way, they had been using the equipment they brought with them to solve problems. They didn't use the spiritualists' method to solve problems. In addition, the way this group of people worked together was too strange. Klaus and the Lightning Squad were obviously normal people. All of them were equipped with firearms and explosives. Of course, Derlin didn't really expect to find the legendary Nordic giants. Strangely enough, there were so many mountain spirits and wild monsters in the Norwegian forest. But after so many days, they didn't even meet one. It had to be said that the luck of this group of people was extremely bad. Of course, it could also be said that Derlin's luck was extremely good. Since they didn't meet those mountain spirits and wild monsters, Derlin was also happy. Anyway, he just brought them around the forest. When they got bored, they would leave the forest. Suddenly, a group of people appeared in front of them. This group and more than 10 people were supporting each other. It looked like they had just experienced a huge battle not long ago. Almost everyone was injured. The two groups of people faced each other. They were a little surprised to meet each other. Demas, what happened to you? Derlin recognized one of them. Demas was a Norwegian spiritualist like him. But looking at Demas's current appearance, he was in a very sorry state. His body and face were stained with blood and dirt. His injuries were the heaviest among the group. Derlin, don't go forward. Ahead is the territory of a group of withered tree ghosts. We accidentally entered their territory and 20 people died. Demas said in pain. Withered tree ghosts were said to be people who got lost in the forest. They sat under a withered tree and finally became one with it. In fact, withered tree ghosts were not evil spirits, but mountain spirits. In Northern Europe, this generation had discovered that they had the habit of living in groups. Are there a lot of them? Derlin asked with a frown. Very many, I can't count. Demas said. Chapter 1780. Doring turned to look at West, and the others worriedly. In fact, he was already overjoyed inside. They could finally leave this cold and damp forest. No one liked to wander in a dense forest like this. The environment here was very painful. There were almost no dry branches here. There was no way to start a fire. They ate compressed food every day. The only motivation for Doring to continue being a guide was the rather high pay. These Americans didn't have any other skills, but they didn't hold back when it came to paying. Now Demas said there was danger ahead. Doring could take this chance to persuade them to turn back. Withered wood ghosts? They have a kind of withered wood essence. It's a very rare alchemy material, Ruan Faxburn said. Then let's go take a look, Wes said. At the same time he looked at Demas. Sir, which direction did you find the withered wood ghosts? Are you sure you want to go? Demas looked at West in surprise. Those withered wood ghosts are very fierce. As long as you enter their territory, they will attack you. Dellen's face was also filled with shock. Friends, let's not take the risk. The withered tree ghosts are extremely terrifying. Look at these people. They have already suffered heavy casualties. Why should we go and ask for more trouble? West glanced at Doring. We don't need you to do anything. You just need to show us the way. Doring was speechless. He could only lead the way. But after a short while, Doring suddenly lost control and exploded. I'm not going, Doring immediately refused loudly. I won't go. You're asking for death. Everyone looked at Dellen with a faint smile on their faces. Mr. Doring, we're not asking for your opinion or suggestion, West said calmly. If you don't want to accept our offer, then refund us the fee, West said calmly. I can refund you, but only after we leave the forest, Doring said. Although he didn't really want a refund. As long as he left the forest, he could find enough friends to support him outside the forest. This was Norway, his home ground. These Americans dared to fall out with him here. Unfortunately, West knew Doring's thoughts like the back of his hand. With just a glance at Dellen, West knew what he was about to fart. Mr. Doring, I want my money back right now. But how could I have $200,000 on me? This is your problem. You guys are making things difficult for us. Dellen angrily criticized them. Forcing me to do something I can't? We hired you for a month and paid you in full in advance. You brought us deep into the forest, and now you want to back out. Are we the ones forcing you? Or are you the one forcing us? West sneered. That's right, but you know that there's danger, yet you're still heading in that direction. If you want to die, I won't accompany you to your deaths. Our goal this time is to find the Nordic giants. Aren't the Nordic giants more dangerous than the Deadwood ghouls? Before you accepted our employment, you should have been prepared to face danger. Now, you actually want to quit because of the danger. West stared coldly at Dellen. At this moment, Dellen's head was suddenly pressed against something hard. Immediately, Dellen broke out in a cold sweat. At some point, Klaus had appeared behind Dellen and was pressing the Desert Eagle against the back of Dellen's head. What do you want? Return the money to us now, and we'll let you go. Or lead the way obediently, West said calmly. I swear, after I get out, I'll return the money as soon as I can. West shook his head. None of US will follow you out of the forest. You can only return the money now. I understand. I'll continue to cooperate with you. Dellen finally compromised. He had no choice. After all, he didn't practice Iron Head on the back of his head. But he was even more dissatisfied with these Americans. But in the eyes of the supernatural organization, taking money to do things was a matter of course. This was the right thing to do. When they first worked together, Dellen had bragged about how professional he was. That was why they chose Dellen. They didn't need Dellen to be talented in magic. They just wanted someone who could lead the way. But Dellen had quit halfway. No one would be happy. After walking for more than an hour, the sky was getting dark. Dellen glanced at West and the others. Mr. West, it's getting late. Shouldn't we rest here? Keep walking, Ruan Fazabin said. The Withered Wood ghosts are more active at night. The people from the supernatural organization never knew how to be considerate. Dellen thought they were crazy. They knew that the Withered Wood ghosts were hard to deal with, but they still wanted to find them at night. Wasn't that asking for death? I can't walk anymore. Let's rest here, Lisa said. Lisa said she was the youngest and had the weakest physical strength. Then let's rest here, Gaia said. Fazabin, if you want to find the Withered Wood ghosts, bring a few people with you. Who wants to see them? West asked. I won't go, Gaia said. I'll go, and Elite said. Me too. A few people volunteered. In the end, an Elite, Morid, Jalanash, and Ruan Fazabin chose to continue. Dellen heaved a sigh of relief. He finally stopped advancing, but he felt that these people were afraid. The so-called few people who were going were most likely going to take a stroll in the vicinity. They started setting up tents. Gaia tried to start a fire. Unfortunately, it was still a failure. The humidity here was too high. The broken branches and leaves on the ground were also damp. There was no way to start a fire. Of course, Gaia didn't need it. However, not everyone didn't need it. It was early October, but the temperature here was always below 10 degrees. In winter, it would be even colder. The president should come, West said emotionally. West sighed. The president knows how to enjoy life. If he were here, we wouldn't have to suffer so much. Gaia rolled her eyes. If Chun came, it would be meaningless. Everyone knew this. West was just mocking himself. Facing such a harsh environment was also a test for them. The giants in Norse mythology were famous, but in terms of strength, they were far weaker than the Japanese demon Tamamo. Chen Zhao was able to hold his own against such a powerful demon. The Nordic giant probably couldn't last more than a few rounds against Chen Zhao. Chapter 1781. Derlin was thinking about finding a chance to escape. Anyway, he definitely had an advantage in the terrain here. Moreover, the fog in the forest didn't disperse. Derlin sat under a tree and observed everyone in the camp. He didn't know when the 4 who'd gone to find the Deadwood ghosts would return. It would be best if they really went to find the Deadwood ghosts. Then they wouldn't be able to return. Out of the 30 or so people that Dimas had brought, only 20 were left in the Deadwood ghosts' territory. If the 4 really went to the Deadwood ghosts' territory, they definitely wouldn't be able to return. Derlin saw Gaia sitting on a high slope not far away. West, on the other hand, was talking to someone. "President, we didn't encounter any trouble," West said. "The environment here is a bit bad, but they didn't have much trouble." He tried his best to convince Chen Zhao not to come over. "Tell an elite that I've taken care of his son. Tell him not to worry." West didn't think that he needed to say anything. An elite didn't take it to heart at all. Suddenly, a thunderous boom came from not far away from the camp. West jumped in fright. "What happened?" "West, what's the matter?" "It's nothing. It seems like something attacked our campsite." West looked in the direction of the loud noise. The people from the association in the campsite all looked calm and collected. Even Derlin stood up abruptly. He'd already been a bit disloyal. When he heard the boom, he shuddered like he'd done something wrong. "Gaia, go and see what happened." Gaia stood up and walked around the camp. There was a huge hole in the ground. Smoke was still coming out of it, but there was nothing else. Klaus also came to the scene. He paced around the hole twice. He picked up the slightly warm stone on the ground and sniffed it. "It's not a gunpowder explosion," Klaus said. "I don't feel any magic left here either," Gaia said. "Then what kind of attack made such a huge hole?" "I don't know yet." Just then, dark clouds covered the sky. In the blink of an eye, lightning flashed and thunder roared. There seemed to be something moving in the thunder clouds. Boom! As the lightning flashed and thunder roared, a huge body flashed through the clouds. "Wow! Giant! It's a giant!" Gaia and Klaus were not the only ones who saw it. Many people in the camp saw the huge body. The figure appeared as the lightning streaked across the sky. After the lightning disappeared, they disappeared together. Although it was only for a moment, it allowed people to clearly see his silhouette. It was a giant with a huge body. That was definitely a giant from Norse mythology. However, that body was too big. It was as tall as a mountain. Derlin shuddered. He had also seen the scene in that instant. There really were giants. Giants really existed. In fact, in the forests of northern Europe, there were many giant humanoid species. Like a cyclops, like a mountain lion, or an ogre. They were all humanoid creatures, and they were tall. However, compared to the true legendary giants, it was not even worth mentioning. In Norse mythology, giants were the enemies of the gods of Odin. During the twilight of the Lord God, the giants were led by the evil god Loki and launched a war against the gods. If they were at the level of the mountain spirits and wild monsters, it was obviously impossible for them to be the main force in attacking the god race, and it was even more impossible for them to trigger the twilight of the gods. In the Norse region, people also strongly believed in fate and cause and effect. In Norse mythology, Odin knew that the twilight of the gods was triggered by the giants. Therefore, he started to chase the giants. However, in the end, because of Odin's chase, the giants attacked the gods of Odin. This was cause and effect, so it was not a product of Buddhism. Actually, this kind of cause and effect existed in many religions. Everyone looked at each other, shocked by the giant that had suddenly appeared and disappeared. "President, I think we found the giant," West said. "Found it? Do you have a picture?" Chen Zhao was instantly interested. "No," West said. The giant only saw his silhouette in the instant of the lightning and then disappeared. Chun Zhao felt that it was a pity. It was more like the legendary giants. Everyone wanted to chase after the giant, but the giant came and went without a trace. There was no way to chase after him. After hanging up, West looked at Derlin. Derlin's body froze instantly. "Mr. Derlin, where are you going?" "I want to go to the bathroom." "Is that so? Then why are you carrying so many bags?" West sneered at Derlin. "Mr. West, I don't want to die with you. As you can see, that giant is impossible to defeat. No one can defeat such a huge monster. I advise you to leave this place as soon as possible. If that giant attacks you, all he needs to do is stomp you into the ground." Derlin was a psychic, but he was not a warrior. "It doesn't matter if we can beat the giants or not. That's our problem," West said calmly. Their goal was never to complete the Scarlet Red mission. Their mission was to experience and train. Completing the mission was secondary. Now that they had a lead on this mission, it was even more impossible for them to leave. If they saw a giant, they would immediately run away. Then they wouldn't be able to face Chun Zhao again. When he came, he swore that he didn't need Chun Zhao to accompany him. In the end, he fled back with his tail between his legs. "Mr. Doring, if you want to leave, I won't stop you. But you have to leave everything you have with you as collateral." Derlin's expression froze. West was obviously making things difficult for him. They had been walking here for a few days. Without these things, he basically couldn't walk out of the forest alive. Even if he knew magic, it was useless. He couldn't fly, including your clothes. West didn't care about leaving a way out. He wasn't familiar with Derlin, and he wasn't from Northern Europe either. If Derlin left them in the deep mountains and ran away on his own, that would be the case. West would bury him deep in the mountains. "I'm not leaving," Derlin said angrily. "I'm not leaving, okay?" He returned to the camp dejectedly. At this time, the sky had already turned dark, and it was raining at the same time. Doring shivered and hid in the tent. Suddenly, Derlin heard a commotion outside. Derlin stuck his head out of the tent and looked. It turned out that Ruan Faxben, an elite, Jalanash, and Morid had returned. Seeing that the four were unharmed, Derlin thought to himself, "It's just as I guessed." The four of them just strolled around the area. Chapter 1782. The four of them had just fought a great battle, so they were a little tired. Although they were a little tired, they were still excited and gathered together to discuss. In the depths of the withered tree ghoul's territory, there's a huge withered tree ghoul. We didn't dare to go in. There are too many of them, tens of thousands. Unless the president comes personally, there's no way to clear them out, Ruan Faxben said. The four of us killed hundreds of withered tree ghouls outside, but they have some intelligence. They knew we weren't to be trifled with, so they retreated and opened up a path for us to come out. Morid's saliva flew everywhere as he spoke. This is the withered tree essence we brought back. Jalanash took out a bag filled with green beads. They looked very beautiful. We saw giants today, the legendary Nordic giants. Derlin glanced at them and then retracted his head. "Hey, Demas, after you go out, help me contact some people. You're in trouble." "Yes, the people you saw today. Recently, many Norwegian spiritualists have become guides for spiritualists from outside. It'll be difficult to find enough people." "Sacred Flame Sect is fine too," Derlin said in a low voice. "Sacred Flame Sect? Are you sure you want me to contact them? They're a bunch of lunatics." "Yes, I'm sure. These damn Americans, they dare to threaten me. Don't they know where they are? I have money, and I believe that these Americans have money too." The Sacred Flame Sect was active in Norway. This sect came from Central Asia. It had a famous predecessor, the Fire Worship Sect. But after spreading here, it formed its own group. In this era, the Fire Worship Sect, which used to be a little extreme, had now undergone a reform to conform to the requirements of this era and the various governments. Therefore, the current fire worship sect's teachings were more in line with the requirements of the various governments. But the Sacred Flame sect didn't learn the good side of the fire worship sect, but they learned all the old customs of the fire worship sect. And it didn't seem to change at all. In fact, the current Sacred Flame sect was already controlled by some people. As the beneficiaries, they naturally didn't want to change the existing rules. Therefore, in Europe, the Sacred Flame sect was notorious. Some evil spiritualists also relied on the Sacred Flame sect to commit crimes. However, there were only a few strongholds in Northern Europe. Meanwhile, Eastern Europe was where the Sacred Flame sect was the most rampant. This was in line with the laws of modern society. The more stable a society was, the fewer gangs and cults there were, and vice versa. I'll ask you one last time. Are you sure you want to look for the Sacred Flame sect? This could kill someone. I know. Derlin had already made up his mind. If these Americans didn't die, they would most likely kill him. Rather than that, he might as well kill them. Did these Americans think that they could do nothing to him just because he was in their hands? How naive. Karan, you have to go to class. Mr. Chin already said that you're fine. You can't continue skipping classes, Amy said seriously. No, I'm not playing truant. I've already asked the school for a week off. Are you going to stay at home and do nothing for the whole week? Your school must be crazy to actually give you a week off. Actually, Mr. Chen helped me get the principal to sign the leave slip, Karan said. Amy was speechless. She picked up the phone. Hey, Mr. Chen, Karan hasn't been to school for a few days. I think you can help me talk to him. Fine, give the phone to Karan. Karan took the phone and compromised after a few seconds. Karan returned the phone to Amy. Fine, I'll go to school tomorrow. Just then, Ceylon returned home covered in dirt. Amy and Karan froze. Ceylon seemed to have been bullied at school. Her entire body was covered in dye. Her face, body, and hands were all covered in it. Even her hair was curled up and covered in sticky dye. Amy and Karan quickly pulled Ceylon back. Ceylon, what's wrong? Mom, they called me an evil witch. I fought with them, Ceylon said. Karan raised an eyebrow, his expression unnatural. Amy was furious. Did this happen in your school? Ceylon nodded. Amy gritted her teeth. Why did they call you that? Because I wanted to show them my newly discovered ability. Ceylon pointed with her finger. A ball of flame rose from her fingertip. Amy was scared and quickly stepped back, looking at Ceylon in horror. Ceylon put it away. What are you doing? Karan quickly called. Amy turned to look at Karan in surprise. She didn't seem surprised to find her son at all, as if he had already discovered Ceylon's ability. Amy didn't know what to do. She was just an ordinary housewife. She had never faced this kind of situation. It was already beyond her ability to handle. Ceylon, this is magic, right? Brother, does this count as magic? Ceylon turned to look at her brother. Karan turned to look at his mother. He didn't know how to answer this question. Should he continue to hide it from his mother? Or just tell the truth? Dad can too. Brother can too. Oh yes, Uncle Chen can too. A certain nerve in Amy's brain suddenly connected. She recalled certain scenes in her mind. Ceylon, when did you learn it? Mom, shut up. Amy suddenly glared at Karan fiercely. Karan could only back away. Last time I was sick, Uncle Chen cured me. Then Uncle Chen, Dad, brother, sister, uncle, auntie, and Grandpa West all know it. They say I'm the third night or something. Amy took a deep breath. She picked up her phone and called Chen Zhao again. Mr. Chin, can you come to my house? Ceylon might have problem. Okay, I'll go now. Chen Zhao used half an hour to get there. Chen Zhao knocked on the door. When Kalon opened the door, he whispered to Chen Zhao, Mom knows. Knows what? Amy had her hands on Ceylon's shoulders. She stood at the door and looked at Chen Zhao. Hi, Amy. Chen Zhao suddenly regretted it. He should have found an excuse. Shouldn't an elite be the one to talk to his wife? Why did he have to get involved in this? What a headache. Chapter 1783. Mr. Chin, I want to know why my daughter has superpowers. Chen Zhao had hoped that it was something else, but it seemed like he'd been overthinking. But in the end, Amy didn't plan on beating around the bush. She went straight to the point. Chen Zhao didn't know how to respond. Do you want to hear the truth or a lie? What do you think? Amy stared at Chen Zhao aggressively. Amy's sudden attack didn't give Chen Zhao a chance to dodge. Actually, it's not a superpower, Chen Zhao said helplessly. Of course, it's fine if you treat it as a superpower. It's more or less the same. I want to know the details. Ceylon, Kalon, and Analit. Amy, first you have to know that there are ghosts and demons in this world, Chen Zhao said. Ghosts? I thought this was the plot of X-Men, but what you're saying now reminds me of the plot of Hell Detective. Amy could still joke around, which meant she wasn't in a bad mood. In fact, Amy was angry because she was the last person in the family to know about it. Huh. Amy, you're funny. You think I'm joking? Amy looked at Chen Zhao coldly. Is that a problem? Of course. DC Comics have always been dark. Chen Zhao suddenly didn't know how to continue. But reality has nothing to do with comics. Fine, continue, Amy said. There are souls and demons in this world. Of course, there are people who fight them. Spiritualists are like that. Of course, different countries have different names for them, Chen Zhao said. Your daughter is a witch, Chen Zhao said. It's more likely that she inherited her bloodline from you. Me. But I'm a normal person. There's a type of person who's a hidden spiritualist. In fact, every witch is a hidden spiritualist before they awaken. The only difference is whether they awaken or not. You mean to say that I might be able to master magic? It's a very dangerous process, Chen Zhao said. Amy, do you remember that after you and an elite fought last time, Ceylon was hospitalized in a coma? Under normal circumstances, she would have died. Mi's heart trembled. She had no idea that the situation would be so dangerous at that time. I can solve most problems, Chen Zhao said, but I can't guarantee that I can save people every time. I'm sorry, Mr. Chen. I shouldn't have talked to you like that. Amy suddenly felt grateful. That's not a problem. Chen Zhao shook his head. Colin's bloodline comes from his father. His ancestor might be a demon or some special existence, so he inherited some of his ancestor's abilities. However, male awakenings are more common and less dangerous. Of course, what happens in movies and horror movies won't happen in reality. There's no hunting for superpowers, and there's no so-called discrimination or prejudice. Amy looked at Kellen. Kellen, what superpowers do you have? Mom, Mr. Chen said it's not a superpower. Cut the crap. Let me take a look. But Colin looked at Chen Zhao. Chen Zhao had already turned his head away, ignoring Colin's doubts. How he decides is his business. It has nothing to do with me. This place is too small, Colin said. Let's go somewhere more secluded, Chen Zhao said. There was a secluded park nearby. After everyone arrived at the park, Colin started to show off his abilities. Speed. When Colin ran through the entire park at his fastest speed, Amy was still shocked. It was different from Ceylon's, which only used her finger to light a fire. It looked like magic. But Colin's speed was already shocking to Amy. Mr. Chen, what about you? What ability do you have? I'm a strength-enhanced type. I'm really strong. How strong? Really strong, Chen Zhao said. I can lift a car. Looking at Amy's expectant eyes, Chen Zhao wasn't sure if he should perform a performance of catching a car with his bare hands. Is Angelite's job dangerous? Amy asked. It's a bit dangerous, but I'll try my best to ensure everyone's safety. Of course, I'll also ensure the safety of the members' families. Since he'd already said it out loud, Chen Zhao couldn't keep hiding it anymore. Was it not dangerous to tell Amy that there was no such thing? That would be irresponsible to her family. Did Kalon get attacked last time when he fainted? No. Qin Zhao hurriedly said before Kalon could. Actually, Kalon had just obtained his bloodline ability. His body hasn't caught up yet, so he's malnourished. Hearing this, AI Mi heaved a sigh of relief. What does an elite usually do for his missions? Deal with supernatural incidents, such as haunted houses. An elite or other people have to deal with them. What about his business trip to Norway? Something like that, Qin Zhao said. I'll try to reduce his business trips in the future. No, I don't want to be a hindrance to his work. I can tell that he likes his job. In that case, I'll support him. AI Mi's gaze was gentle after an elite got rid of the last barrier. After an elite removed the last barrier, AI Mi became more rational. Mom, can I join the supernatural organization? I want to. No, Qin Zhao interrupted. Without Angelite's permission, family members can't join, Qin Zhao said quickly. After all, it's dangerous. Mr. Chen, you what? Qin Zhao glared at Kalon. I haven't even settled the score with you yet. Mr. Chen, is there anything wrong with Ceylon? I need to make her understand one thing, Qin Zhao said. This ability isn't unique, but it's best not to use it in front of normal people. As for her school problems, I'll take care of it. But Ceylon isn't a normal child. Qin Zhao thought for a moment. That depends on your and Angelite's choice. If you want Ceylon to be a normal person, then maintain the status quo. If you want her to enter the supernatural world, then start teaching her magic now. To be honest, Ceylon is very talented. There might not even be 1 in 10 million people like her. She's that talented. AI Mi asked in surprise. Even more so than Kalon. Qin Zhao glanced at Kalon. He's the lowest level. If Ceylon has systematic teaching and guidance, she might become one of the strongest people in the world in the future. Of course, Qin Zhao didn't say that for sure. After all, talent was one thing and progress was another. Chapter 1784. It's not a bad thing to be a spiritualist, Qin Zhao said. Actually, there are some spiritualists around us. They live normal lives too. Let me think about it, Amy said. Tell me about an elite. Qin Zhao avoided the part about Angelite's broken arm. He emphasized how an elite subdued demons and monsters. Colin's eyes lit up as he listened. He felt that his father was living the life he wanted. Just like a secret agent, he used the identity of an ordinary employee to hide his true identity. He wanted that kind of life too, but there were 3 mountains in front of him: his parents and Qin Zhao. If they didn't agree, he wouldn't be able to join the supernatural organization. Mr. Qin, is your family spiritualist too? Not all of them, Qin Zhao said. My daughter experienced life and death on the day she was born. Will you let her become a spiritualist? Of course. Why not? Fate chose her, so there's no need to run away. Also, becoming a spiritualist doesn't mean you have to fight. Having abilities that others don't might not be a bad thing. Amy thought about it. It was true. She even hoped that she could become a spiritualist too. Of course. She also knew that she couldn't force it. This society is actually very dangerous. I've lived in China for 25 years, and I've never seen a gun in real life. But in the half a year I've been in LA, I've experienced 5 shootings, 1 bank robbery, and 2 kidnappings. If I didn't have special abilities, I'd probably be dead already. Can you avoid shootings with these abilities? Shootings happen randomly. No one can predict it. Of course, if Ceylon could learn and practice divination magic, she might be able to avoid these hidden dangers. Also, take Corin for example. With his speed, a normal person with a gun would not be able to hit him at all. Then, Qin Zhao sent Amy's family back. He didn't call an elite. He believed that Amy would definitely call him. As for how they would talk, that was their family's business. This kind of trouble should be dealt with by themselves. The next day, after Feilai went to work, Qin Zhao took the 2 kids and Portia to the headquarters of the organization. Portia didn't know why Qin Zhao was here. There was only one old man, Aduz, guarding the headquarters. Moreover, she always felt uncomfortable here. Qin Zhao entered the warehouse. It had been 3 days since the equipment had been installed. Qin Zhao could use this opportunity to try. Of course, he locked the door first, in case Portia came in. Little Jerlin and little Larissa were left in Portia's care. Qin Zhao punched a hole in the wall opposite the ring-shaped sensor. Then he turned on the device. Qin Zhao stood at the other end of the ring-shaped instrument. As long as Qin Zhao passed through the ring-shaped device, the device would record his data. This instrument was originally used to measure the speed of artillery shells. However, there was no problem with using it to test other objects. He took off his clothes and changed into the dragon scale underwear. He took a deep breath. He assumed the starting position of a track and field athlete. Release! Qin Zhao kicked with all his strength and shot out like a cannonball. Who? Qin Zhao instantly passed through the ring-shaped sensor. However, Qin Zhao felt that he hadn't let go of his body just now, so his speed wasn't at his peak. Qin Zhao returned to the device and checked if it had measured his speed. The screen showed 991 meters per second, which was Mach 2. 91. Qin Zhao went back to the starting point and tried again. The same process. Release. Qin Zhao felt that his condition was even better this time. There was an obvious improvement. 1,125 meters per second, Mach 3. 3, not bad. It seemed that after running twice, the cells in Qin Zhao's body had become active again. Qin Zhao ran again. This time, he increased his speed to Mach 3. 32, but not by much. For the next few times, Qin Zhao kept trying. It hovered around Mach 3. 35. After 10 tries, Qin Zhao had basically confirmed his running speed. Then he tested his flying speed. Qin Zhao did superhuman movements and passed through the ring-shaped sensor. The first time was Mach 4. 25. Then he tried 10 more times. His speed was maintained at Mach 4. 3. He had a conclusion about his running and flying speed in his normal state. From now on, Qin Zhao would try in his complete state. Clone. All spells return to 1. Dark assimilation. I have power, mighty God. All the statuses were added to Qin Zhao's body. He had already become a small giant. The ring-shaped sensor was only 3 meters in diameter. He clearly couldn't pass through it by running. Qin Zhao directly tested his flying speed. Qin Zhao exploded at full speed, creating a strong gust of air. Mach 14. 88. This was the result of the first test. However, Qin Zhao felt that he could still increase his speed. Then he did the second test. Mach 15. 25. The increase was obvious. In his complete state, Qin Zhao was basically the fastest object flying in Earth's atmosphere. Even the rockets with the highest thrust couldn't surpass him in the atmosphere. This speed was unimaginable from the perspective of normal creatures, but for the more powerful existences that Qin Zhao knew. For example, the Great Lords, Secondary Demon Kings, and Great Demon Kings. Qin Zhao estimated that they could all crush him in speed. It was the same even if they weren't good at speed. Just like the current Qin Zhao, he wasn't good at speed either. But Qin Zhao could still crush an elite in speed. The difference between them was in level. So, when Qin Zhao faced the more powerful existences, they also had the ability to crush Qin Zhao in level. Moreover, it wasn't just 1 or 2 levels. In fact, there was a huge difference. Mr. Dews, where did the boss go? Portia held little Jerlin's hand and carried little Larissa's. I don't know. Aduz knew that Qin Zhao had entered the warehouse. That's weird. Where did that sound come from? It's been making that noise since an hour ago. It wasn't here last time. Miss Portia, have you eaten? Our restaurant is open. Is there anyone else here other than you? Portia asked in confusion. She didn't notice Aduz's crude change of topic. Let's go. Jerlin really likes our food. Portia, thought about it in confusion. Why did it feel weird? 9 Heavens, Divine Emperor. Chapter 1785. Portia entered the restaurant. She realized that the food section was already filled with all kinds of food. They were all prepared food, but there wasn't a single person. Just the few of them. Mr. Dews, where's everyone? Who? A chef and a restaurant needs waiters, right? There's no waiters, Adu said casually. Take whatever you want. Portia realized that there was indeed no one else in the restaurant. But who was the one who made all these dishes? It can't be made by a ghost, right? But the food was all hot. There were only a few people here. Could they finish all the food? Just then, Chen Zhao walked in. Seeing Chen Zhao, Portia retracted her previous thoughts. With Chen Zhao here, they could definitely finish it. Clang! Portia jumped in fright. But it wasn't a big deal. The spoon had just fallen to the ground. But the spoon was on the table. No one touched it. How did it suddenly fall? Portia obviously didn't know that there were a few invisible people here. Don't look around when you're eating. Chen Zhao placed the food before Portia and slammed the table. It wasn't the first time she saw Chen Zhao eat. But every time he would give her a shock. Was he really not human? Where did the food go after he stuffed it into his mouth? Not just Chen Zhao. Little Jerlin ate quite a lot too. In Chen Zhao's family, only little Larissa was normal. She was drinking milk from a bottle. Chen Zhao and Fei Lai were planning to wean little Larissa in the next 2 days. Some children were easier to wean because they had already received other foods in advance, so they could quickly eat other foods as their staple food after weaning. Some children were more patient and would cry for 2 or 3 days after weaning. They only wanted milk and nothing else. Little Jerlin had experienced it once, but she was very adaptable. She didn't cry much and was successfully weaned in less than a day. She only woke up hungry at night during the weaning. If Chen Zhao and Fei Lai didn't grit their teeth and persevere, they probably would have failed. If they failed once, the second weaning would be even more difficult. Normally, it was best for children to be weaned between 1 and 2 years old. The digestive ability of a 1-year-old child was strong enough to accept most food. Some children did not stop drinking milk until they were 8 or 9 years old, or even 10 years old. In fact, this had become a burden for the child's growth. To a certain extent, giant infants' physical fitness and immune systems were weaker than children of the same age. Of course, little Larissa was the same as little Jerlin. They were both stronger and healthier than their peers. Milk was rich in nutrients, but the human body needed more trace elements. The richer the diet, the better the body's development and health. Take little Jerlin as an example. Although her growth and development were not extraordinary, however, her physique was far better than that of other children her age. Even children older than her were not necessarily better than her. Little Jerlin could soak in the seawater for half a day. After eating and drinking, Chen Zhao patted Adu's shoulder. Adu's, I'm leaving. Oh, have a safe trip, guild leader. Along the way, Portia was puzzled, whether it was in the Mingyue villa or in that restaurant. Portia couldn't understand why they couldn't find a chef. What was there to hide from a chef? Boss, where are the chefs in your family and that restaurant hiding? Why are you guys always so secretive? I already said that our chefs are ugly. They can't meet guests. What about that restaurant? They're twins. They're both ugly, so they can't meet guests. Portia's face darkened. Even if you're lying, can't you be more careful? If the chefs know what you're saying, I wonder what they'll think. Just then, Chen Zhao received a call from Felwood Cisco. Felwood, what's up? Mr. Chin, the main part of the Mirror Lake project has been completed. When do you have time to send someone over to monitor the project? I'm free today, Chen Zhao said. At the same time, he told Portia, let's go to Mirror Lake. When they reached Mirror Lake, Chen Zhao parked the car in the temporary parking lot. Little Jerlin had been very excited about returning to Mirror Lake. But when she saw the lake that had changed drastically, she was a bit dazed. Maybe she thought that she had gone the wrong way. Little Larissa had no impression of Mirror Lake at all. Felwood Cisco walked over. Mr. Chin, Miss Portia. It had been less than half a month since Portia's last visit. However, the Mirror Lake project progressed quickly. For one, it was because of Felwood Cisco's urging. For another, the latter part of the project wasn't difficult. The most difficult part of the project was wading into the water. After that was done, the main part of the project was no longer difficult. Chun Zhao looked at the completed main part of the building. He was quite satisfied with the design. "Dad, is this our Mirror Lake?" Little Jerlin asked. Mirror Lake was still Mirror Lake, but the buildings were clearly different from what she remembered. "Of course. Don't you remember? But what about our previous home?" Dad didn't think it looked good, so he rebuilt it. Portia was speechless at Chun Zhao's parenting style. She didn't know the actual situation. She really thought that Chun Zhao had demolished and rebuilt it because it wasn't good. But with her understanding of Chun Zhao, he really might do something like that. Because of the project, the water at the edge of Mirror Lake was a bit turbid. But it didn't affect the water quality of the entire lake. After all, the project was only going on at the edge of Mirror Lake. Moreover, Felwood Cisco was trying his best to ensure that the water quality of Mirror Lake wouldn't be affected. After all, Mirror Lake still had to provide water for the brewery. There wasn't much to see at the construction site. The current progress was around 60%. It was a mess. Chun Zhao couldn't tell if it was good or bad. Chun Zhao just watched from the outside. He'd leave the quality inspection to the professional department. "Mr. Felwood," Chun Zhao said, "it's best to expand your company in the next 2 years." Felwood Cisco pricked up his ears. His heart skipped a beat. Was it because of the private airport Chun Zhao mentioned earlier? "Mr. Chen, my company's people should be able to handle the private airport." "It's not a private airport." Chun Zhao shook his head. "I can't reveal more information right now, but the project might be dozens of times larger than the private airport." Chapter 1786. Felwood's heart skipped a beat. Dozens of times more work than a private airport? What was Chun Zhao trying to do? "Of course, I can't give this project to your company alone," Chun Zhao said. "But I'll try my best to give you the project as long as it's within your company's capabilities." Felwood's heart almost jumped out of his chest. Chun Zhao didn't tell him, but Felwood felt that Chun Zhao didn't tell him because it was a trade secret. But the few words Chun Zhao had revealed were enough to shock him. If he could take over this project, even if it wasn't all of it, after finishing this job, he would be able to retire. As for Chun Zhao lying to him, Felwood had never considered this problem. For one, Chun Zhao didn't need to lie to him at all. Moreover, in the past 2 years, Chun Zhao had been giving him all kinds of projects. Chun Zhao was now his company's biggest and most important client. Suspecting Chun Zhao was akin to digging his own grave. However, he couldn't figure out what project Chun Zhao had that was dozens of times more than an airport. It seemed like he had to change his company's development strategy. Felwood thought. Chun Zhao didn't stay at the construction site for long. He looked around and left with his child. "This is where we came from yesterday. This area is the territory of the withered tree ghouls. If you go any further, you will be surrounded by a large number of withered tree ghouls. It will be very troublesome if you fall into their territory." Ruan Faxi pointed at a valley in front of them. "We'll go from the outside," Wes said. "There's no need to enter the valley." Delin had been following the team, but he was in the middle. This was to prevent him from running away. Delin was half-hearted, but his role in the team couldn't be doubted. Not only did he know the terrain of this area like the back of his hand, but he also had a special spell called the Spirit of Guidance. Of course, this spell had nothing to do with Buddhism. It was a type of prophecy spell. It could tell the correct direction through divination. However, this spell had a disadvantage. If the same question was asked repeatedly, the mana consumption would double. For example, they were looking for the Nordic giants. The first time they used this spell to ask for the correct direction, it didn't consume much mana. The second time he asked the same question, the magic power would double. The third time it would double again, and so on. If a person's magic is strong enough, they can find almost anyone or anything. But no one could use it infinitely. Doring's magic power was very average. He couldn't be compared to the members of the Magic Association. Compared to ordinary spiritualists, Dellen's strength was also very ordinary. Therefore, he could only use the Spirit of Guidance 3 times at most. Doring had already used the Spirit of Guidance once before. Therefore, he still had 2 chances to use the Guidance Spirit. This was also why West had approached him and offered him such a high price in the first place. $200,000 for 1 month's time. One had to know that even hiring a spiritualist would only cost slightly more than an ordinary person. More were the tooth of the fire dragon. It can dispel some of the cold. Ruan Faxi tossed a pendant to Moore. In their group, Mo, Air, and Rissa were the youngest. Riisa could absorb the heat around her, so she didn't need to worry about catching a cold at all. Moore, on the other hand, was a big kid who was still growing. He'd caught a cold last night. However, Moore always had the mentality that he was a man and an adult. He felt that everyone in the group should be treated the same. He would eat what others ate. He would use what others used. But he clearly didn't have the ability, yet he liked to show off. Moore, wear it, West said. Otherwise, I'll call the president and have him come and take you away. Okay, I'll wear it. Suddenly, Doring noticed the tooth of the fire dragon hanging around Moore's neck. Doring's heart skipped a beat. It was faintly emitting pure flame power. Could it really be a dragon tooth? If it really was a dragon tooth, these guys were too extravagant. They actually hung the dragon tooth around their necks, like a pendant. If given to an alchemist, this dragon tooth could definitely be made into a high-quality magic tool. These Americans were indeed a bunch of nouveau riche. They didn't have any ability at all, but they were rich. Doring didn't know that the dragon tooth hanging around Moore's neck was of the lowest quality. It was the kind that nobody wanted. Ruan Faxi couldn't be bothered with magic at all. He simply polished it and pierced it to use as a pendant. The association didn't have too many dragon parts. For example, each of them was wearing a tight-fitting dragon scale undergarment. Who didn't have 1 or 2 dragon magic tools? But even if he said that to Doring, he probably wouldn't believe it either. Doring's eyes flashed. He had to find an opportunity to get this dragon tooth pendant. The fog seems to have dispersed today. Yes, it's much easier to walk. Everyone was in a better mood. Nobody liked walking in the fog anymore. Because of the fog, even their companions could only see blurry figures, which was a huge problem for them. Their faces were covered in mist after walking for a while. It was very uncomfortable. It seems to be dry around here. There should be some firewood. Why don't we rest here today and catch some game? We haven't had cooked food for days, Gaia suggested. Although compressed food could also fill one's stomach, not everyone could stand the boredom of compressed food. Gaia, Klaus, and the Lightning team were retired soldiers. They could barely tolerate it, but the others couldn't. Wes thought for a moment. All right, then we'll rest here today. Doring was completely speechless at these Americans. They had only walked for half a day, and they were already stopping. With their speed, when would they be able to find the giants? Doring looked down on West, and the others even more. But this was good. Demas had already sent him a message. He had already contacted the Sacred Flame sect. The slower they walked, the earlier they could meet the people from the Sacred Flame sect. It was impossible for this motley crew to fight against the people from the Sacred Flame sect. That group of Sacred Flame sect disciples were all extremely vicious and evil. They were perverse and vicious, and their methods were extremely cruel. As long as they were their enemies, there was almost no one left alive. Doring looked forward to seeing their expressions when they met the Sacred Flame sect. Chapter 1787. Today, Portia followed Chen Zhao to Seagate again. The people from Seagate reported the progress of the yacht to Chen Zhao. Of course, there wasn't much progress. The yacht had just officially started construction. However, the person in charge of Seagate invited Chen Zhao to visit their headquarters warmly. However, Chen Zhao wasn't really interested. He had to go all the way to their company in Italy. So, Chen Zhao could only say that he was busy. After leaving Seagate, Portia stared at Chen Zhao speechlessly. "Boss, did you invest all your money in luxury goods?" Chen Zhao's Mirror Lake villa was only worth $10 to $20 million at most. The private airport and private jet were still in preparation. However, Chen Zhao had actually invested more than $300 million into this private yacht. Portia couldn't imagine how luxurious a yacht worth $300 million was. More importantly, Chen Zhao already had a yacht, the Hydra. In Portia's eyes, the Hydra was unimaginably luxurious, but the Hydra was only $80 million. How luxurious would a new yacht that was 4 times more expensive than the Hydra be? "I'm rich, so I can do whatever I want," Chen Zhao said matter-of-factly. Up until now, Portia hadn't seen many of Chen Zhao's valuable properties. Marina Restaurant was one, but it clearly couldn't support all of Chen Zhao's top luxury goods. She knew that Chen Zhao had a brewery, but to Portia, a brewery alone wasn't enough. In fact, the brewery was Chen Zhao's biggest source of income. Dashin beer had already spread across the entire North America market with Mara Supermarket. Of course, the main market was still in California. The California beer market was completely dominated by Dashin. North America was also constantly eroding the market share of the former beer giants. The international brands had contacted Denver a few times, hoping to buy Dashin beer. Of course, it ended in failure. Chen Zhao sold the golden chicken that laid eggs and then invested a large amount of cash that he didn't know where to go. Chen Zhao was either crazy or stupid. The only thing that could beat Dashin beer now was its production capacity. But no one could solve this problem. Dashin beer's production capacity wasn't limited by food. It was limited by the water of Mirror Lake. The only water source of Mirror Lake was the small waterfall hanging in front of the villa. The flow of this waterfall was basically the largest output of Dashin beer. Of course, so far, Dashin beer had not reached its true production capacity. Ever since Mountain Beer's production doubled 2 months ago, Chen Zhao's income also doubled. Denver had also transformed from an unemployed man who had been driven out of his home by Happy Dollar beer into a billionaire. Even if he only held 5% of the shares, this 5% of shares, whether in terms of value or long-term stable income, was enough to make him a billionaire. Of course, he didn't completely trust Denver, but apart from 1 or 2 spies, Chen Zhao had almost no restrictions on Denver. He and Chen Zhao were now bound by benefits, so he wouldn't do anything that would harm Chen Zhao's interests. Recently, Winip had been trying to charm Chen Zhao again. She even asked Fei Lai to give him pillow talk. He wanted to buy some shares of Mountain Beer and even encouraged Chen Zhao to list Mountain Beer. Fortunately, Fei Lai knew what to do. After all, they were family now. She wouldn't do something that would harm her family's interests for Winip. The value of Dashin Beer's shares was limitless. If Mountain Beer went public, it would hurt Chen Zhao the most because he was the absolute owner now. This was because he was the absolute shareholder now. Once Mountain Beer went public, his shares would be diluted. He would inevitably lose control of Mountain Beer. He would also lose long-term stable dividends. So, Chen Zhao definitely wouldn't let Mountain Beer go public. Of course, Amira and Denver, as shareholders, also tried their best to avoid going public. Going public would also harm their interests. This made Chen Zhao a bit annoyed with Winip. Of course, no matter what, they were family. Chen Zhao wouldn't turn against Winip. It was just that after being harassed a few times, Chen Zhao didn't even want to pick up Winip's calls. "Boss, where are we going now?" "Find a place to eat lunch," Chen Zhao said. As expected, This guy had nothing to do every day. Other than buying things everywhere, he only did food. Portia and Chen Zhao found an open-air restaurant. Not long after they sat down, Chen Zhao met familiar people. It was Stephen's daughter, Daly Moore, and Nawat Singh. Daly Moore, Nawat Singh, Chen Zhao greeted. The two also saw Chen Zhao. They went up and sat beside him. Chen, long time no see. Daly Moore's expression was pretty good. It seemed that she was in a good mood recently. Chen, congratulations. The movie you invested in is a big hit. Kidnapping's global box office had already surpassed $3 billion. It had already slowed down. The only question now was whether it could break $4 billion. As Stephen's daughter, Daly Moore's company was computer special effects. Most of her business was related to Hollywood. As a result, many Hollywood-related companies came to her recently to please her. They wanted to get close to her father. The company's performance increased greatly. Daly Moore was also very famous. Of course, she was more jealous of the huge returns that Chen Zhao's tens of millions of investment had gotten. In less than a year, Chen Zhao's investment of $30 million had gotten more than 20 times the investment. But she also knew that her funds couldn't enter Hollywood. She was only able to develop this secondary industry of movies because of Stephen, who was a mountain. Miss, you are my personal assistant, Portia, Chen Zhao said. Portia, this is Daly Moore, and this is Nawat Singh. Hello. Portia stood up and went to a nearby seat. She gave the table to Chen Zhao and the two girls. Nawat, you used weakness mirror on me last time. Let's try again. I want to see if I've improved recently. Nawat Singh remembered that she'd used weakness mirror to borrow Chen Zhao's left arm to teach her sister a hard lesson. Then I'll have to offend you. Nawat Singh had improved a lot recently. She also wanted to test it on Chen Zhao. Moreover, she had also mastered mirror magic, which was a step further than weakness mirror. 9 Heavens, Divine King. Chapter 1788. Mr. Chen, this time I won't use weakness mirror. I'll use real mirror magic. No problem. Chen Zhao nodded. Weakness mirror, as the name suggested, was to copy the opponent's weakness and then create a magical connection. Then it would attack the opponent by hurting themselves. Mirror image, on the other hand, was the ability to copy a certain spell of the opponent or a certain part of the opponent's body. Chen Zhao immediately felt a spell approaching him, but it was an invisible spell. It couldn't be seen or touched. He could only sense it. But the moment the spell touched Chen Zhao, it disintegrated. Chen Zhao's non-elemental constitution was effective. Normal directional spells wouldn't be effective against Chen Zhao, unless the directional spell was shockingly powerful. If Nawat's had Tamamo Nome's power, Chen Zhao's non-elemental constitution wouldn't have any effect. But Nawat's clearly didn't have that power. Nawat's was stunned for a moment. The feeling in her body was so strange. Did it work? Or did it fail? Wait, my magic is fading. Nawat's stood up abruptly and stared at Chen Zhao in shock and anger. What did you do to me? What? Chen Zhao was confused too. What was the meaning of Nawat Singer's sudden accusation? My magic is fading. Magic fading. Chen Zhao was confused. No. Wait. Chen Zhao suddenly looked at Nawat Singh. Did her spell succeed? Did her sight successfully copy his non-elemental constitution? Daly Moore hit Nawat with a fireball. I need to confirm something. Nawat saw Chen Zhao's eyes. She didn't understand his intentions, but his magic fading didn't seem to be his own doing. Nawat nodded at Daly Moore. A small fireball rose from Daly Moore's finger, and she pointed at Nawat. The fireball extinguished the moment it neared Nawat. As expected. Chan, what's going on? Nawat copied some of my abilities. She's immune to most directional spells. Even if it's an area of effect spell, as long as it doesn't exceed the upper limit, it'll disappear, Chen Zhao said. But Navats seems to have gotten rid of her magic too. Knots lost her magic permanently. How long will the mirror image last? Chen Zhao asked. Half a day, Navats said gloomily. However, she was shocked by Chen Zhao's unimaginable ability. If he could replicate this ability without eliminating his own magic power, he would be almost invincible. Of course, this kind of invincibility was relative. It was definitely useless against Chen Zhao, the original master. Moreover, as the original owner of the non-elemental body, Chen Zhao wasn't affected by the spell's side effects. Even the thought of it was terrifying. No one could hit him with magic, and no one could hurt him with physical attacks. Actually, it wasn't that Chen Zhao wasn't affected by his elemental constitution. It was because his current cultivation system had changed from magical power to immortal power. However, Chen Zhao had only learned the neutral elemental constitution when his magic power had turned into immortal power. That was also a watershed. Navat Singh could replicate a non-elemental constitution. In a sense, she was already very powerful. Sorry, Chen, I was rude just now. Navats was very embarrassed. She'd misunderstood and thought that Chen Zhao had done something to her. Not far away, Portia was confused. Weren't Chen Zhao friends with those two women? They seemed to have had an intense argument just now. The woman even stood up in agitation. But then they seemed to have reconciled. Portia filled in the blanks in her head. What relationship did Chen Zhao have with them? They were asking for a breakup fee or something. After lunch, Daily Moore and Navat Singh left. Navats, what are you looking at? I saw you studying your arms for half a day. I'm studying the mirror image ability I copied from Chen. Isn't it just eliminating magic and magical power? Not just that. Navat Singh shook her head. This feeling is really addictive. Is it that comfortable? You haven't tried it before, so of course you can't understand, Navat said. When can I learn mirror image? You haven't even learned the weakness yet. Don't bite off more than you can chew. Suddenly, Daily Moore slammed on the brakes. Your sister is here again. Daily Moore turned to look at Navat Singh. This wasn't the first time. Navat Singh's sister, Okula Singh. She would harass Navat Singh once or twice a month. Of course, every time Okula appeared, he was very good at picking the right place. She would always calculate their route and attack in a place where there was no one. Daily more often teased Navat Singh, saying that her sister was like a villain in a movie. She would harass her and then run. Okula's winged beasts blocked the front of the car. I won't get out, Daily Moore said to Navats. You deal with it yourself. Navat's face was filled with helplessness. After getting off the car, he looked around. Nots Hingis saw the air flowing around her. At the same time, she saw 3 people hiding behind cover. The 3 of them had different colored cheese flowing around their bodies. One of them seemed to be red, the second was gray, and the third was yellow. Navats could easily identify the 3 of them. Okula, come out. I see you. Navat Singh didn't move. There was no movement. Oculus seemed to be planning a sneak attack. Navat Singh was speechless. Her sister had come at the wrong time. She had borrowed power that didn't belong to her. Although Navat Singh didn't have any magic now. But right now, she was unprecedentedly powerful. Navat Singh even felt like she was invincible. Okula, Barbara Rush, and Domingo, I know you're hiding behind cover. Come out. Navat shouted again. You want these wind-howling beasts to attack me first, and then you can ambush me? To be honest, Navat Singh was surprised that her sister had found Barbara Rush and Domingo. Unfortunately, no matter how many people there were today, she was confident that she could defeat them. The power that didn't belong to her gave her courage. Chapter 1789. Barbara Rush and Dominguez were of the same family as Nawat Shingles and Okula Shingles, but the 2 of them clearly didn't get along with Navats. Instead, they shared the same interests as her sister, Okula. As a matter of fact, Okula and 2 others were blocking Navat Singh. Navath Shingles didn't even understand what kind of power she had. Of course, her enemies didn't understand either. After the last few attacks, Akula Singh realized that his sister wasn't that powerful. A few months ago, when Akula fought with her sister, she realized that her sister had an enhancement spell. But after he calmed down, Akula understood. That enhancement spell wasn't her sister's, but a mirror spell. After a few confrontations, Akula confirmed that her sister indeed didn't have any strengthening spells. Akula Shingles was fully prepared for this attack. However, for some unknown reason, his sister actually directly pointed out their intentions. The three of them could only walk out from behind cover. "I told you, with our strength, there's no need to go through so much trouble," Barbara said unhappily. Barbara's face was filled with radicalism and excitement. Her palms were dyed red, not like normal flames. Instead, it was as bright as fresh blood. Barbara wasn't an elemental witch. She was a fury witch. Actually, it was similar to Tank. She became stronger through anger. The difference was that Tank turned anger into physical strength. Barbara, on the other hand, turned her anger into a scorching flame. Dominguez stood there calmly. Akula Singh wasn't a man who was good at trickery to begin with. Therefore, after being exposed by her own sister, she felt a little embarrassed. She was also a little shy and immediately attacked Navots to cover up her blushing face. A few howling wind beasts charged at Navots. Navots' body lightened and she flew up. Everyone present was stunned by this action, including Navots Singh himself. She didn't think that one day she would be able to fly in the air. Navots just wanted to avoid the wind howler beast attack, but he didn't expect his body to instinctively dodge into the air. Akula, Barbara, and Domingo all raised their heads to look at Navot Singh, who was in the air. Disbelief was written all over their faces, but Barbara was the first to react. She aimed both palms at Navots, who was in midair. "Go to hell!" Bang! Navots' body exploded violently. But after the flames, Navot Singh hovered in midair and scathed, looking down at everyone. Barbara Rush didn't believe that her powerful attack couldn't hurt Navot Singh. Navot Singh didn't have to do anything. Barbara Rush's attack couldn't hurt her at all. Navot didn't even need to defend. It had to be said that the deeper one experienced this powerful ability, the more powerful it was. Navot Singh was even more shocked. Navot's heart skipped a beat. Her body seemed to desire the surrounding elements very much. This time, Navot decided to follow her body's instincts. Suddenly, Navot's body began to absorb the elements around her. In that instant, Navot felt her body become very scary. Her body even grew to a height of 2 meters, and the loose clothes on her body also became tight. She couldn't absorb anymore. She would die. Navot was alarmed. She immediately stopped absorbing the elements. Akula, Barbara, and Domingo looked at Navot in disbelief. At this moment, a wind howler beast jumped up and bit Navot Singh's ankle. However, the wind howler beast's bite force couldn't even break Navot's skin at this moment. Navot quickly descended and crushed the wind beast that was biting his ankle with one foot. The ground was also crushed. Navot felt an indescribable power in her body. Navot took a step forward and punched the ground. Bang! With Navot as the center, the ground was like a wave, spreading out in all directions. In an instant, the ground within a radius of more than 30 meters was covered with spiderweb-like cracks. The few wind howling beasts that were close to him were instantly affected by the shockwave and exploded. Akula Sinjith, Barbara Rush, and Dominguez were all stunned. What kind of power was this? It was too scary. Navot Singh looked at Akula, Barbara, and Domingo indifferently. "Are you sure you still want to fight?" Navot didn't even know how strong she was right now, but she was sure that she wasn't as strong as Qin Zhao. She seemed to have reached her limit in an instant when she absorbed the elements from the outside world. If Qin Zhao used this move, with his strong body, he would be more than 100 times stronger than himself. Navat Singh suddenly felt very lucky. Thank goodness Chen Zhao wasn't her enemy. Having an enemy like this was really a headache. No, it should be a very scary thing. And Nawats Hingis knew. This might just be one of Chen Zhao's abilities. When the Holy Infant Hurricane came, Navats and Delamore had seen Chen Zhao in that state. In the third night, which had never happened before in history, Chen Zhao fought from morning to midnight. As for the Holy Infant Hurricane, it was truly an evil spirit that resembled an army of thousands upon thousands. But without exception, Chen Zhao tore them all to pieces. It was also the first time they understood the difference between them. Navats didn't dare to say that she could compare to Chen Zhao with the power she displayed. But for Okula Singh, Barbara Rush, and Domingli, it was already shocking enough. What kind of destructive power was this? If Navats really wanted to kill them, they wouldn't even have a chance to escape. Navats' attack was off the charts right now. Her defense was equally shocking. At the very least, Okula Singh, Barbara Rush, and Domingo couldn't break his defense even if they worked together. Now get out of my sight. Otherwise, I really won't be able to control myself and kill you. Okula Singh, Barbara Rush, and Domingo's faces were ashen. They'd sworn to stop Navats, but in the end, they fled with their tails between their legs. They couldn't fight anymore. If they really did, they'd really die here. Chapter 1790. Okula Singh, Barbara Rush, and Domingo ran away with their tails between their legs. Meanwhile, Navats didn't know what to do. She didn't know how to get out of her current state. After returning to Daly Moore's car, she sat in the seat with great difficulty. She was 23 meters tall, but the car was still a little small for her. Daly Moore stared at Navats with glowing eyes. Navats, you're too powerful. It's nothing to do with me. It's a completely copied ability from Chin. It's too scary. I have to learn weakness image and mirror magic as soon as possible. Daly Moore was suddenly filled with energy. Even if you learn mirror magic, you still shouldn't copy Chen's ability unless it's necessary. The consequences will be very serious. What's serious? That's the trouble with strengthening. Mirror magic can copy the opponent's ability, but after using the ability, it'll be a huge burden on the body. I remember last time I used weakness image and copied Chen's left arm. After the magic faded, my left arm was useless for 3 days. I couldn't lift it at all. I used so much power just now. I think I won't be able to get out of bed for a month. That serious? That's the side effect of mirror magic. Otherwise, do you think this magic array is so perfect? But it's not bad to experience that. You know, you were like a god just now. No, you're still like a god now. Suddenly, a figure appeared in front of the car without any warning. Oh no! Navat Singh and Delamore exclaimed at the same time. Daly Moore couldn't brake in time, and the car crashed into the person. Bang! The expected scene of the person being sent flying did not happen. The front of the car seemed to have crashed into an electric pole. It instantly caved in. The airbag popped out from the steering wheel, and Daly Moore was confused. But Navats broke through the window in an instant and pounced towards that person. She hadn't dispelled mirror magic yet. She still had endless power. The person was pushed to the ground by Navats. He was also shocked. He didn't expect Navats to be able to push him to the ground. Who are you? Navats grabbed the man's neck with one hand. The man realized that he had overestimated his own strength and underestimated Navat Singh's. He had originally thought that he would be the one to grab Navat's neck. But now the situation was reversed. How could this be? Why was this happening? The man's palms suddenly glowed with black light as he struck towards Navat's chest. But when his palms hit Navat Singh's chest, the magic attached to his palms dissipated. What was going on? Was Navat Singh that powerful? Who are you? Navat increased the strength of her palm. The man's neck was being deformed by a tremendous force. Eastern, unending Pillar King, lend me your strength, the the man suddenly shouted. Navot Shingles could feel the man's power increasing, but it still didn't surpass him. She was more concerned about the magic this man was using. He was praying to the Eastern Endless Pillar King, one of the 5 gods of the Roma, and borrowing his power. In other words, he was the same as her aroma? To borrow the Pillar King's power, one first had to become a believer of the Pillar King. The legend of the 5 Pillar Kings was an internal belief of the Roma. It was an extremely small group. The others didn't have this belief. Just then, Navot Singh turned around. She saw Daly Moore's head bleeding in the car behind her. She seemed to be seriously injured. Navot let go of the person in his hands. He was very strong. He was very powerful, but compared to her current state, he wasn't even worth mentioning. Navot wasn't worried that he could hurt or defeat him. But just then, the man suddenly attacked. But he didn't attack Navot Singh directly. Instead, he reached out and grabbed Navot Singh's earlobe. Navot Singh instantly realized that something was wrong, but it was too late. The man forcefully tore the earlobe off. Ah! Navot Singh screamed in pain. Her ear was bleeding profusely. Navot Singh instantly felt her strength rapidly slipping away. Her earlobe was called Heal. It could extend the duration of all sustained spells by double. The mirror image spell could only be maintained for such a long time through the earlobe. Navot Singh felt weak. But before the power completely dissipated, Navot punched the man's face with all his might. Ah! The man's face was punched by Navot Singh, and he flew more than 10 meters away. Navot Singh fell to the ground in pain. She had no strength left to chase. The man stood up shakily. He looked at Navot Singh and then at the earlobe in his hand. He was hesitant. Should he kill Navot Singh now? After all, the threat that Navot gave him was too strong. But he wasn't in a good state either. His face was covered in blood. Blood seeped out of his mouth, nose, and ears. His head felt like it was splitting. It was extremely painful. At this moment, Okula Singh, Barbara Rush, and Domingo suddenly appeared. "Mr. Warren, are you okay?" Okula looked at his sister on the ground with a complicated look in his eyes. "Go kill her." The moment Warren said that, he spat out a mouthful of blood. "Take Mr. Warren away from here," Okula Singh said. Barbara Rush and Dominguez looked at each other, knowing what Okula Hingis was up to. After all, they were sisters. It was reasonable that Okula couldn't bear to kill them. Moreover, in order to hold Warren back, Okula had been attacking her sister on her own initiative. She was worried that if Warren fought personally, it would endanger her sister's life. "Mr. Warren, you're heavily injured. We'll take you away from here first," Barbara said. To be honest, they all knew how terrifying Warren's strength was. They thought that if Warren fought, Navot Singh would have no chance of winning. In the end, Warren actually won by a huge margin. He didn't even win by fighting head-on. The way he won was very clever. Chapter 1791. "Hey, Stephen, do you have time to call me today?" Chen Zhao had been wandering around for the past few days. He was very free. However, he knew how many places Stephen had gone to for the movie. Last time, Stephen had even gone to Chen Zhao's house and stayed for one night. Then Raspa took him away. As far as Chen Zhao knew, Stephen had brought the main cast and crew to at least 5 countries for publicity in the past week. Daly Moore was in a car accident. She's still unconscious. "Huh. Which hospital?" Chen Zhao asked. "Chantilly Hospital. I'll go over now." Chen Zhao hurried to the hospital. He saw Stephen's 2 bodyguards and his personal assistant, Yu Wenhui. The 3 of them were old acquaintances. So, when Chen Zhao arrived, they didn't stop him. They led him into the ward directly. "How's her condition?" Chen Zhao saw Stephen sitting before the bed. Daly Moore was lying on the bed with gauze wrapped around her head. "Take a look first." Seeing Stephen's serious expression, Chen Zhao immediately put down his toolbox. After a quick check, he stood up and almost slapped Stephen's face. "Fuck, Daly Moore's just asleep." I just wanted you to see if she has any internal injuries, like a concussion or cerebral hemorrhage. Stephen looked at Chen Zhao awkwardly. Then please make it clear. Chen Zhao looked at Stephen with a dark expression. But the police said that there's something strange about the accident. What's strange? It's like Daly Moore's car hit an electric pole, but there's no pole nearby, Stephen said. Stephen said the friend who was with Dahlia was found outside the car. From the traces at the scene, it looks like she crashed through the windshield. Huh. You're talking about Naort Singer? Do you know her? Yes. She hangs out with Daly Moore, and she's not a normal person. How is she now? Chun Zhao asked. Unconscious. The doctor said that she looks like she just finished a triathlon. Her body is almost half paralyzed. She's in this hospital too, right? Chun Zhao asked. Yes. I arranged a ward next door for her. I'll go next door. Is Daly Moore really all right? If you want anything to happen to her, I'll do it for you. Scram, hurry up and scram. When Chun Zhao went out, Halifa Oliver and Sanel happened to come in. Halifa and Chun Zhao nodded. Chun Zhao went to Navat Singer's room next door and saw a woman walk out. This woman was Okula Singh. Okula looked at Chun Zhao suspiciously. Who are you? Chun Zhao looked Okula up and down. Who are you? Just then, For walked over from afar. Chin, do you have any patients in the hospital today? For had a headache over this bastard who always came to the hospital to steal patients. In fact, Chin Zhao's actions were already half public in the hospital. Apart from the new employees, the doctors who had worked in the hospital for more than half a year basically knew that Chin Zhao was an illegal doctor. However, whether it was the major shareholder of the academy or the dean, they all turned a blind eye to this. Most of the time, he didn't hide it anymore. Singer glanced at Chin Zhao. So he was a doctor. After thinking it through, Ocula turned around and left. Chin, can't you control yourself? It seems like you guys can't do anything to the patients I've met. I don't think this will affect your performance. After chatting with Four for a bit, Chin Zhao entered Navat's Singer's room. After inspecting Navat's body, Chin Zhao realized that there was nothing wrong with her. After thinking about it, he realized that she had used her non-elemental body. In other words, it was mighty spirit transformation. However, Chen Zhao had used mighty divinization before, so he knew very well how high the requirements were for physical fitness. It was like pouring pure oxygen into an oxygen cylinder. This was because of the metal walls of the oxygen cylinder. However, if compressed oxygen was poured into a balloon, the balloon would explode instantly. Nevertheless, Navats didn't use it too much. It seemed that she was rather restrained and didn't use it too much. The mighty spirit transformation did put a lot of pressure on her body, but it didn't hurt her foundation. Actually, Navats was like an athlete who had overdone her exercise. Her muscles were too tired, so she wasn't really injured. However, Chen Zhao also noticed the damage on Navat's left ear. Chen Zhao wasn't sure what had caused the damage. Chen Zhao sent a bit of celestial power to Navat Singh. It could save her half a month of rest. Knock, knock. At some point, Stephen was standing at the door. Dahlia's awake. Okay, I'll go. Is she okay? She's fine. Chen Zhao shook his head. Chen Zhao followed Stephen back to Dahlia's room. Halifa Oliver and Sanel stood before Dahlia's bed. Dahlia was already awake and sitting on the bed. Chin, you're here. Sanel remembered that her mother and Chen Zhao had been at loggerheads before. Later, her grandfather had been the middleman, and Chen Zhao had reconciled with her mother. However, she really didn't know that Chen Zhao and her mother had such a good relationship. Oliver, Sanel, you two go out first, Stephen said. Chen, give Dahlia a checkup. Halifa was instantly unhappy. She looked at Stephen coldly. Why don't you go out? You can be here, but I can't? I'll go out too, okay? Stephen said angrily. After the three left, Chen Zhao sat on a nearby chair. Tell me, what happened? I'm a bit confused about the details. Dahlia told him what had happened after lunch yesterday. First, Navat's sister had brought people to attack her. Then there was the car accident. As for the accident, Daly Moore remembered it clearly. However, after the airbag popped out, Dahlia was in a daze. Qin Zhao heard more clearly. The two groups of people who attacked Navats were probably from the same group. They were all after Navat's earring. Judging from this, the earring should be a magic item passed down by Navat's family. 9 Heavens, Divine Emperor. Chapter 1792. Qin Zhao looked at Delamore. After a long silence, he asked, "Do you need me to do something?" "Wait until Knots wakes up. I'll listen to her." On the day little Larissa was born, Delamore and Knots Singh came to help Qin Zhao. Whether they were effective or not, Qin Zhao would remember this favor. Daly Moore, on the other hand, was much calmer. She could tell that Knots Singh could get rid of her troublemaking sister many times, but she had never really done it. This meant that she still had feelings for her sister. So, Delamore didn't want to make the decision for her. After Knots Singh woke up, she would support her no matter what decision she made. In the end, Qin Zhao was an outsider. The favor was there, so he didn't mind being a knife for someone. After Qin Zhao left the ward, he said a few words to Stephen, Halifa Oliver, and Sanger. Halifa watched as Qin Zhao and Stephen exchanged glances. Even a blind person could tell that they had something on their minds. Qin Zhao and Stephen were birds of a feather, but Qin Zhao didn't have much of a relationship with her. Even if she asked, Qin Zhao probably wouldn't tell her. However, Halifa couldn't understand why she was clearly closer to Delamore than Stephen. What could Qin Zhao and Stephen know that Delamore couldn't let her know? Halifa's heart ached, and she was furious, but she wouldn't show it. Plus, if she asked now, there was no guarantee that Stephen would mock him. "Stephen, I'll leave Delamore to you," Halifa said. "I have something to do at the company. I'll leave now." After that, Halifa left with Saner. Stephen finally asked, "Chen, what did you and Delamore talk about? Did she get into some kind of trouble? You have to help her." Stephen's mind was filled with all sorts of movie plots, like how a secret organization wanted to kill Delamore. That was why filmmakers were so jumpy. Nothing big, just a few blind people. "Delamore doesn't want me to interfere, which means she can handle it," Qin Zhao said casually. He didn't say everything so that Stephen wouldn't worry too much. Really, stop nagging. If something really happened, would I just stand by and watch?" Qin Zhao rolled his eyes. Let's go. Let's go take a look at the piece of land I recently acquired." Stephen was in a good mood. "Your daughter is still in the hospital. Are you sure you can come down peacefully? You've already checked that she's fine. What's there for me to worry about? Besides, if something really happens to Dahlia, I'll rob Mirror Lake. You owe me. Is your daughter only worth a piece of land?" Yu Wenhui stayed behind to take care of Dahlia. The two bodyguards followed beside Stephen. Qin Zhao and Stephen sat in the back seat. "Old thing, I'm with you, but you still want 2 bodyguards to follow me. You don't trust me." The 2 bodyguards sitting in front were rolling their eyes. One of the 2 bodyguards was Famutus. She was one of the people who knew Qin Zhao's true colors. The other bodyguard came after Famutus, but he also knew that Qin Zhao and Stephen were so close that they were almost in the same boat. And Qin Zhao always liked to play such nasty jokes. "If I don't trust you, I'll tell them to kill you." Stephen glared at Qin Zhao. "By the way, Famutus, how's Evan?" "Not bad. He's gotten fatter." Famutus's income was stable now. He wasn't like before, when he could only feed Evan dog food. Stephen still paid Famutus a high salary. After 40 minutes of driving, they finally stopped. But it wasn't because they'd reached the ground. The road behind them was too hard to drive on. They could only get out and walk. The road behind them was a dirt road. Although it had been built, it hadn't been repaired for a long time. However, the environment here was indisputable. It was even better than the original Mirror Lake. They were at the top of the mountain. Looking into the distance, it was full of greenery. When the four reached the top, they were already drenched in sweat. However, a gemstone-like lake came into view. Chun Zhao gasped and turned to look at Stephen. Stephen was really awesome to be able to find a place like this. Not to mention the feng shui. The spiritual qi here was much more abundant than other places. How is it? It's not bad, right? Stephen asked, rather proud. Not bad, really not bad, Chun Zhao said sincerely. This place was really a blessed land. In ancient times, it would be a blessed land. To be able to find such a blessed land in modern society was truly a rare sight. How come no one owns such a good place? Chun Zhao asked, confused. Even a blind person could see that it was a good place. But why wasn't anyone occupying such a good place? Chun Zhao was really confused. There were many rich people in LA. It couldn't be that everyone didn't want this place, right? Hearing Chun Zhao's words, Stephen suddenly had a toothache. Seeing Stephen's expression, Chun Zhao felt that there might be some flaws that he hadn't noticed. Mr. Stephen, move back. There's a crocodile. Another bodyguard immediately stood in front of Stephen. Chun Zhao saw it too. It was a 2-meter-long crocodile. There were crocodiles here. No wonder. But this place was about 100 meters above sea level. Chun Zhao didn't expect a crocodile to live here. Is this running water? Chun Zhao asked. Yes, it's an underground fountain. Stephen nodded. Everything here is good, but there are crocodiles. I found an expert to estimate that there are hundreds of crocodiles here. It's very troublesome. Since Stephen wanted to build a house here, it was obviously for living. But if there were crocodiles here, it would be a threat to the residents. It was impossible to clear hundreds of crocodiles. If 1 or 2 were missed, it would be a threat to Stephen and his family's safety. This was also why Stephen hadn't started building the land even though he'd bought it for so long. Didn't you know there were crocodiles here when you bought it? I did. Then why did you buy it? I still have you. That's too much. You're treating me like a laborer, Chun Zhao complained. But this land wasn't big, but it wasn't small either. If there was a pond full of crocodiles, it meant that the fish here could support so many crocodiles. Just then, the crocodile that had been sunbathing by the shore suddenly crawled toward the 4. Oh, speaking of which, I haven't eaten crocodile meat yet. Let's eat crocodiles for lunch.